Chapter 1804. Are these really dragon veins? Chu Yang asked. The sword spirit's body turned into a shadow and rose into the sky. He carefully checked the direction of the mountains before he landed and said, "There are indeed 2 dragon veins here. However, although they are dragon veins, they are also a little damaged. They don't have much value. However, the surrounding mountains are a little strange. This should be the legendary realm of the God Source. But why is the realm of the God Source so dilapidated and desolate? It's really against common sense." Realm of the God Source. What's the realm of the God Source? Chu Yang asked curiously. Brother Tiger also gave him a puzzled look. Although he was very powerful and had been in the Heaven Imperial Court for quite a long time, he usually closed his door and didn't care about anything in this world. The so-called realm of the God Source refers to the terrain. Normally, when thousands of mountains worship and all the spiritual energy flows in a streamlined landslide, the place where all the spiritual energy finally gathers can be called the realm of the God Source. Normally, such a place would be occupied by a super big sect. Once it's occupied, it would naturally be carefully set up by experts. With such a place as the foundation, it can definitely be regarded as the origin of this big sect. It's very easy for a big sect with such a special geographical vein to produce experts. And because this place is the origin, it's called the realm of the God Source. The sword spirit was a little puzzled and also a little frightened. He said, "Under normal circumstances, the realm of the God Source is a special place that can't be destroyed, but this place has obviously been destroyed. I believe there should be a mountain at the westernmost position. It's the most stable place in this place. Although it doesn't belong to the realm of the God Source, it's the guardian mountain of this realm of the God Source. This guardian mountain won't have any changes even after thousands of years. Even a peak martial saint might not be able to destroy a piece of rock on the mountain. If it stays there, it can prevent the spiritual energy that gathers in all directions from leaking out. In other words, this can be said to be a natural array. In fact, all the realm of the God Source is a natural array. So, this place is also called a paradise. With the protection of the guardian mountain, the realm of divine source is considered complete. However, the mountain there has obviously been moved away by someone, causing the spiritual energy here to be completely destroyed and lost, and the feng shui of the realm of the God Source has also been completely destroyed. There was shock in the sword spirit's eyes. But what kind of existence is capable of destroying the realm of the divine source? What kind of strength was this? Only then can you move the guardian mountain. What kind of person? Was that why he could single-handedly resist a large sect with a divine source realm existence? What kind of thing was it? That's why this large sect offended such a powerful expert? The sword spirit took a deep breath. His tone was filled with puzzlement and doubt. Chu Yang was also pondering. He slowly said, "Sword spirit, are you saying that there is no dragon vein here? And there was only a broken divine source realm? Am I right?" "Yes, that's what I meant." Chu Yang took a deep breath and continued to ask, "Then things are clearer now. Since there was a realm of the divine source here, then there must have been a super sect here? Isn't that right?" "Since there was a super sect here, then this place is actually the remains of a super sect, right? Since it was such a super expert who destroyed this sect and destroyed the realm of the divine source, I believe that super expert would not be interested in the things left behind by this sect, right? Generally speaking, that should be the case. Since that's the case, there must be countless treasures left behind here. According to common sense, that should be the case. That should be the case, right? That should be the case. Then it's too obvious. The purpose of the Jianghu clan is definitely not to transplant the dragon vein, but to excavate the treasures left behind by this large sect? Am I right? If that's the case, that should be the case. It could be heard that the sword spirit's answer was getting more and more hesitant. But after all, he still gave a definite answer. As for Brother Tiger, he was already dizzy from Chu Yang's series of yes or no questions. Although he was not the one who answered, he also felt that this was really too complicated. It was better to let those people with complicated minds have a headache. He simply did not think at all. He lay down on the ground and stretched comfortably. Chu Yang breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Since that's the case, the goal of the Jianghu clan can be confirmed. But I have a new question." The sword spirit said, "What is it?" Since there used to be a super sect here, how could no one in the entire Heaven Imperial Court know about this? That's the first question. Chu Yang said, "Secondly, this place is not far from Wuxia City. How could no one know that this place is actually a relic? Thirdly, even if it's a long time ago and no one knows this secret, you can see that this is the realm of the divine source, but others can't? Why didn't anyone have any doubts about this?" Each of Chu Yang's 3 questions was sharper than the previous one. The first 2 questions may have been buried because of the long time. Whether it's true or not, it can't be determined. The sword spirit said, "As for the third point, I believe that there are not many people in the entire Heaven Imperial Court who have such foresight. If I hadn't heard the Lord mention it a few times when I followed him back then, I wouldn't know either. Without a certain standard, it's impossible to understand things at this level." The sword spirit said very honestly, "Actually, this is still not within the scope of what I know. I only know 10 times as much. Also, after this realm of the divine source, everything has changed after it experienced destruction. The surrounding mountains also don't have that kind of aura. Normal people wouldn't suspect anything." Only then did Chu Yang's doubts dissipate a little. This way it could be barely explained. Since that's the case, then where is the real existence of this relic? Chu Yang asked. "This should be in this infinite boundless mountain." The sword spirit smiled bitterly and said, "I'm also just guessing. Because this infinite boundless mountain is the most central location within a radius of thousands of miles. In the past, it should be the place where spiritual energy gathered the most densely. Of course, this is inference based on common sense." Chu Yang nodded silently, acknowledging the sword spirit's judgment. Yes, those people of the Hua clan must have taken a fancy to the hidden treasure of the infinite boundless mountain. However, they were not sword spirits, and did not have the qualifications to learn from Shui Leihan. Then, how did they know? How could they be so sure that the thing they were looking for was in this infinite boundless mountain? Chu Yang thought for a while and said, "Let's search this place first." There was no point in thinking too much. No matter how the Hua clan found out, they definitely knew about it from the current situation. And the Hua clan's actions were very cautious and secretive. They obviously wanted to take all the spoils for themselves. Then, could they really have taken all the spoils for themselves? Chu Yang faintly felt that this time, it might be an opportunity. "Sword spirit, if this place is found, and the seal that has been sealed for so many years has been removed, or rather, seen the light of day once more, what will be the reaction?" Chu Yang asked. "This, I really don't know what will happen. This is very difficult to determine." The sword spirit shook his head. "Yes, if the world knows that there are relics and inheritances here, what will happen?" Chu Yang asked. "Then the world will definitely be in chaos." The sword spirit smiled bitterly and said, "Although the current Heaven Imperial Court is not inferior to any other time in terms of strength, there is one thing that must be confirmed. That is, some of the supreme techniques of some ancient super sects have already been completely lost, so such relics have reappeared in the world. Just by looking at the surrounding terrain of this infinite boundless mountain and the traces of time left behind, we can basically conclude that this relic is at least 100,000 or hundreds of thousands of years old, or even millions of years old. That is to say, since this sect has a divine source realm expert, it is possible that it is one of those ancient super sects. The super sects of that time had countless supreme techniques and inheritances. To the people of the present, those are all incredible treasures, especially those supreme techniques that have been lost. Even if their power is not much when compared with the martial techniques of the present, there will be unimaginable gains." The sword spirit smiled bitterly and shook his head. "If people know that there is an ancient relic with a divine source realm expert here, and that it is the kind that has not been discovered yet, then the entire Purple Cloud City will become the center of a storm in the entire Eastern Royal Heavens." Even super sects from other realms will come here. By then, this place will become a complete meat grinder. Countless, tens of millions of people will die here. The sword spirit sighed deeply. This kind of relic is definitely not something that any sect can ignore. No sect can ignore it. Even if they can't get it themselves, they can't let their enemy sects get it either. Once this happens, it is very likely that many years later, their own sects will be wiped out. Therefore, no matter whether they want it or not, they will all come. They have no choice but to come. I believe that no matter if it is a big sect or a small sect, as long as they know of this news, they will all come. And as long as they can freely travel between realms and break through the seals of the realms to come here, they must at least be experts of heaven grade and above. This is the minimum requirement. As for those sects that are further away, they must at least send out experts of martial saint level to be able to reach here in the shortest time possible. If those super sects send out experts of heaven grade, it is not impossible. The sword spirit's voice became heavier and heavier. He was very clear about Chu Yang's plan, but such a thing was really too risky. Chapter 1805. Everyone can think of this, and this is what Feng Yu is thinking. So, even if it's the nearest sect, as long as it has a heavenly being expert, it will make a move. The sword spirit clearly knew that Chu Yang was plotting against them, so he explained in detail. He reminded him earnestly, "Sword Master, this is a life-threatening business. With our current strength, we'll die if we touch them. If we touch them, we'll die. If we touch them, we'll die. If we touch them, we'll be smashed into pieces." Chu Yang's lips curled into a half-smile as he looked at the night sky without saying a word. Saint-level experts are everywhere, and heaven-level experts are as common as dogs. Heavenly beings are fighting in the air. The sword spirit shuddered. There are even saint-level experts eyeing them covetously. This is a hornet's nest that no one dares to poke. The sword spirit was on the verge of tears as he spoke. That was because he understood Chu Yang's temperament very well. He was an extremely daring person. There's absolutely nothing that can make him feel apprehensive. There was absolutely no risk that he wouldn't dare to take, as long as the benefits were worth the risk. In the heaven-level continent, that person, who was no stronger than an ant, dared to point at the East Emperor Xue Leihan and scold him. And that was under the premise that he knew Xue Leihan's identity. Was there anything that such a lawless bastard wouldn't dare to do? But the consequences this time were really too serious. They could easily be wiped out and consigned to eternal damnation. The sword spirit had no choice but to persuade him with all his might. A hornet's nest that no one dares to poke? Chu Yang smiled amusedly and said lightly, "If I can take this opportunity to see all the heroes of the world, it would be a great blessing." "It's over," the sword spirit wailed in his heart. This guy is determined to get involved. He actually wants to take this opportunity to see all the heroes of the world? Heavens, is this for the sake of looking good? Let's split into 3 directions to find the exact location of this historical remains. Chu Yang said fiercely, "Even if you have to dig 3,000 feet underground, you must find it for me. Immediately, quickly, quickly." The sword spirit was speechless. He was in a daze and didn't move for a long time. There was a blackout. Brother Tiger jumped up with a meow. He excitedly said, "I'm most interested in excavating treasures. I'll go." He wagged his tail and ran away. The sword spirit heaved a long sigh. He had no choice but to search in the opposite direction. Along the way, he kept muttering, "Please don't let me find you. Please don't let me find you. Please don't let me find you." Chu Yang's body floated, and he chose another direction. The 3 directions of the man, the beast, and the sword spirit formed an extremely symmetrical triangle. Chu Yang searched all the way. On a mountaintop like this, the range of his spiritual consciousness was limited to a certain extent, so his search range was the smallest. And now that it was late at night, it was impossible for him to take out the calamity sword and dig it up with great fanfare. Therefore, Chu Yang only let ZJ go through the motions. His real hope was the sword spirit and Brother Tiger. After walking for a short distance, Chu Yang chose a relatively flat and smooth surface and sat down. He was prepared to slack off and take a break. But it didn't matter when he sat down. Chu Yang's chrysanthemum suddenly felt cold. There seems to be something wriggling and trying to break into the room. Chu Yang's hair stood on end. He jumped up with a whoosh, and all the hairs on his body stood on end. Something was actually trying to burrow into brother's place? He looked down and saw that the rock made by ZJ was still as flat as before. It was just an ordinary piece of green rock. Chu Yang frowned and looked left and right. He didn't find anything unusual. He reached out and touched it. Still, there was not the slightest response. He couldn't help but scratch his head. Damn it. It wasn't my imagination just now, right? Why would I have such an illusion? Chu Yang frowned and couldn't figure it out. After thinking for a long time, he still didn't want to give up. Finally, he tried to sit down on the green rock again. After sitting down, Chu Yang still held his waist, ready to spring up at any time. But when he touched her but carefully, he could only feel the cool sensation of the stone. He could not feel anything else. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and moved his buttocks closer to the rock. He still held his waist and was on his guard. But there's still no sign of her. Was it really an illusion? Chu Yang recalled his sitting position just now and pressed his buttocks on the rock. He didn't hold his waist anymore. Finally, that disgusting and dangerous feeling appeared again. Chu Yang screamed and stood up. His face was yellow, and he felt like he had just survived a disaster. That was an extremely strange feeling. Suddenly, a cold sensation entered Dong Xuebing's body from his back. Chu Yang's face turned pale as he exited and entered the rock. How could a fucking rock do such a thing? He walked around this strange rock and looked left and right, front and back and forth, back and forth. He didn't find anything strange. This was really strange. At this moment, Brother Tiger sent a message. Are there really relics? Are there treasures? Why didn't I find anything? Chu Yang hurriedly said telepathically, I didn't find anything. Come back quickly. I'm a little strange here. The sword spirit also came back at almost the same time. He also didn't find anything. Chu Yang's posture now was a little strange. He was bending his waist and sticking his buttocks out. A palm-sized kitten was squatting on his shoulder. There was also a guy with a form but no substance beside him. Look, this rock is a little strange. It's very strange. Chu Yang pointed at the strange rock and said. As for how strange it was, he was too embarrassed to say. Strange? Strange? How can a rock be so strange? The sword spirit was carefully inspecting the rock, but Brother Tiger shook his head and said, no matter how strange it is, it's still just a rock. Chu Yang said, it's really strange. After thinking for a while, he still didn't know how to describe it. He could only say, Brother Tiger, why don't you go up and sit for a while and feel it for yourself? But remember, if you feel something, come down quickly. Don't sit for too long. Remember that. Brother Tiger jumped onto the rock and walked back and forth. He said, it's not strange. What's strange about it? You have to sit down. If you don't sit down, you won't be able to feel it. Fine, I'll sit down. Have I not experienced anything before? Brother Tiger sat on the rock and looked left and right. He said, isn't it just a rock? What's there to make a fuss about? He hadn't even finished speaking when he suddenly exclaimed. He jumped up like a lightning and returned to Chu Yang's shoulder in a flash. His small body was shivering, and his eyes were wide open. His eyeballs were protruding out. Oh my God! What the hell? This rock wants to rape me. Brother Tiger couldn't see it, but Chu Yang and the sword spirit could see it clearly this time. In the instant that Brother Tiger jumped up, there was an extremely thin wisp of black chi that quickly retreated from behind Brother Tiger's butt. It was like a faint wisp of black smoke that quickly retreated into the bluestone ground and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The rock was still a rock, as normal as before. Soul-suppressing rock. The sword spirit exclaimed. Chu Yang turned around and frowned. Soul-suppressing rock? Soul-suppressing rock? The sword spirit was stunned at this moment. He was shocked by these three words that came out of ZJ's mouth. After a long while, he said with a trembling voice, soul-suppressing rock. There's actually a soul-suppressing rock in this world. What the hell? It just appeared in front of me? Is there really a soul-suppressing rock? During this time, Chu Yang and Brother Tiger both spoke up to interrupt the sword spirit. They knew that the sword spirit needed some time to recover from the shock in his heart. Soul-suppressing rock is a spiritual item. Wherever a soul-suppressing rock exists, there must be an earth-shattering treasure. The sword spirit said. Obviously, he still hadn't recovered from his shock. Wherever a soul-suppressing rock exists, there must be an earth-shattering treasure? Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Yes. The sword spirit finally heaved a sigh of relief. But the formation of a soul-suppressing rock requires extremely strict conditions. First, there must be a specific environment. This environment must be the God Source realm, and it must be a completely sealed God Source realm. The seal here refers to a complete confinement. Even the spiritual energy of heaven and earth must be confined. In a complete confinement, even a soul that transcends the laws of heaven and earth will not be able to escape. This is only the first condition. The second condition is that too many experts must be killed in that specific environment. Note that the experts mentioned here must at least be at the saint level. Those below this limit, no matter how many there are not counted. The third condition is that the spiritual energy of this place must also be buried along with the deaths of these people, not leaving a single drop behind. However, even if these three conditions are fulfilled, it will still take countless years. Only after a long period of time, these spirits will gradually swell because of the chance to escape or dissipate. In the end, they will transform into some powerful spirit creatures. This spirit body that transcends the heavens and earth is suppressed by the heavenly Tao. When they are about to break out of the ground, a soul-suppressing rock is born, suppressing these powerful spirits here for a long time. The sword spirit let out a long sigh of relief. In other words, since the soul-suppressing stone has appeared here, then the treasures below must have been touched by someone. Also, the person who produced the soul-suppressing stone must have been a very powerful person when he or she was alive. Only then would he or she have the qualifications to cause such a change in heaven and earth. Chapter 1806. In other words, apart from being a huge treasure, this place is also extremely dangerous and terrifying. This is definitely a land of extinction where all living beings and demons are silenced. The sword spirit sighed softly. Update. Chu Yang frowned, thinking about the three conditions. But after thinking about it, he still felt that it was unreasonable. Completely imprisoning, killing all of them, and burying all the spiritual energy. No matter how he looked at it, it was a little superfluous. Since he had already decided to kill all of them, why should he bury the spiritual energy as well? I say, how can these three conditions be fulfilled? Chu Yang asked. To achieve these conditions, there are two ways to implement them. The first is to have enough hatred. They wanted to kill everyone here. Moreover, they had to make sure that this person's hatred had reached an extreme level. They were worried that even a dog wouldn't be willing to let anyone escape. So much so that before the massacre, they had to completely imprison everyone here to prevent anyone from escaping. After imprisons this place, he then carries out an extreme massacre, killing all the people and living beings. In the end, he is worried that he might miss something, so he simply buries all the spiritual energy here. Then he also destroys all the feng shui outside, making this place look ordinary. Only in this way can he ensure that no one will be interested in this place. The sword spirit's expression changed and he said, "I figured it out now. No wonder this realm of the divine source is so strange. It turns out that the destruction was only carried out after the massacre and the imprisonment. If not, how could the destruction be so thorough? Then what about the second implementation?" Chu Yang asked immediately. The second implementation. Similarly, he also needs to have great hatred, but the person who did this has a considerable degree of sympathy for the target of revenge, so he used the method of respecting the enemy and completely buried this place. He buried all the foreign objects with him. Moreover, after a long time, this place can even form a strong group of ghosts, which is equivalent to letting his opponent survive in another form. Although the soul-suppressing stone was created to suppress ghosts, it has a limit. As long as the ghosts form a strong enough force, they can break through the restrictions of the soul-suppressing stone. When that time comes, the strength of this ghost should have reached the stage where it is not afraid of the rules of the world and can ignore the different paths in the netherworld. It can live freely in the world and cultivate in another way, becoming a calamity spirit. This kind of calamity spirit can only survive after passing the heavenly tribulation. Then he would be able to transform back into a human. Moreover, he possesses a powerful strength that is hard to match in this world. The sword spirit gritted his teeth. Hissing sounds came from his mouth as he said, "But this is only limited to legends. Firstly, we need to pass through these layers of calamities. It was harder than ascending to the heavens. Secondly, the passage of time was enough to drive any undead creature crazy. If it's only a few thousand years, perhaps you can barely endure it. But if it takes tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years, and you still can't break through the soul-suppressing stone, then, no matter how strong your spirit is, you won't be able to endure it." In the human world, there have indeed been spiritual creatures that came out of the soul-suppressing stone before. But they were basically all irrational, ferocious, and brought disaster to the world. In the end, they were all killed and destroyed by the experts. There has never been an exception where the soul of a calamity turned into a human being. Not a single one. Chu Yang nodded slowly. Then he frowned and pondered. The soul-suppressing stone is usually located on the surface of the earth. But there should be something to cover it up. It shouldn't be so easily seen. How did you find it before? The sword spirit asked curiously. How did he find it? When he heard this question, Chu Yang was a little embarrassed. He said, "I walked here and then realized that my spiritual consciousness was restricted. I couldn't continue to spread it out. Looking for it didn't have any effect, so I wanted to slack off. Then I saw that this place was very flat, so I sat down." The sword spirit opened his eyes wide and pointed at him. He was speechless. Looking at this place, the surroundings were very flat. The dense grass covered the soul-suppressing stone. It seemed that this was really a reason. However, the sword spirit couldn't accept it no matter what. Chu Yang's lazy sitting had given him a soul-suppressing stone. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? It was a little too much of a coincidence. Was this luck? Was it luck or misfortune? Brother Tiger was at the side, smacking his lips. "Really awesome, I really admire you. You came out with a soul-suppressing stone just by sitting down. This mountain covers at least a few thousand miles. A stone the size of a butt is not even comparable to the size of a shrimp in the sea. But you actually came out with a soul-suppressing stone just by sitting down. This is luck. I, Brother Tiger, also admire you, sincerely admire you." The sword spirit was speechless. He was in a daze again. Since ancient times, the number of people who had walked up to this mountain was not many, but it was definitely more than 10 million. So many people had searched the entire mountain, but they still could not find this soul-suppressing stone. But now, Chu Yang had used this method to find it. He found a treasure that was enough to shock the entire heavenly imperial court. How could he endure this? If those who had ascended the infinite boundless mountain were to find out about this, they would definitely vomit a few dozen tales of blood, dying of depression. Actually, I didn't notice it at that time. But I felt something drilling into my butt. Even though Chu Yang's skin was as thick as a city wall and as hard as a cow's butt, he couldn't help but blush. That situation was really too scary. That's why I studied it. Sigh. The sword spirit let out a long sigh. Under normal circumstances, the soul-suppressing stone would definitely not behave like this. But when it gathers enough netherworld energy, it would naturally sense the yang energy outside. Once you sat on it, that abnormally strong vitality would definitely attract the cold energy inside. And you sat down on it. And you happened to have an entrance there. The sword spirit was speechless as he shook his head. The cold yin energy would naturally rush inside. Although the situation was unbearable and unexpected, it was still within reason. Black lines appeared on Chu Yang's face. He said angrily, "What do you mean by, although the situation was unbearable, and it was still within reason?" When did I happen to have an entrance? What entrance? You're just spouting nonsense. Do you believe that I won't beat you up unexpectedly? It was within reason. The sword spirit shrank his neck. Although the sword spirit's strength had improved by leaps and bounds, he was still very afraid of a certain king of hell. Especially at this moment, when the sword master seemed to be a little angry from embarrassment. You understand it so well. You tell me clearly. Then why did it go back? Is it because of that cold energy? Chuyang asked. Is this difficult to understand? When you left, without the attraction of the yang energy, the cold energy that came out would only end up being burned by the yang energy of the world. Therefore, as long as you left in time, the cold energy would naturally shrink back. If it didn't shrink back, it would be seeking death. It was probably just an instinctive reaction. The sword spirit said. If that cold energy really came out, what would happen? Chuyang frowned and asked. I'm afraid the consequences would be unimaginable. The sword spirit shook his head and warned, you must not let it out. If it really came out, after a period of getting used to it, there is a great chance that it would become an unkillable monster. It would bring disaster to the world. This is not a joking matter. The sword spirit added. Chuyang was deep in thought, but Brother Tiger showed a look of disdain. He rolled his eyes again and again. In this world there is such a thing? Brother Tiger, I would like to see it. Even if it really became a monster. With Brother Tiger in charge, it would be easy to destroy it. In other words, that is a treasure. Or perhaps the great sect that had been destroyed was located at the foot of this mountain. As long as we go straight down from here, we can open it? Chuyang said thoughtfully. In theory, that is right. The sword spirit said, but, since the power of the ghost can go in and out of the soul-suppressing stone at will, it is about to awaken. Then he must have reached the point where he is about to awaken. If he hastily opens the remains, then the consequences. Chuyang fell into deep thought. He was obviously analyzing the pros and cons of this plan. The sword spirit nervously accompanied him in his thinking, afraid that he would do something out of line and reckless. However, the two of them didn't notice that Brother Tiger had scurried over and circled the soul-suppressing stone twice. Then he knocked on the door with a small front paw and tilted his head, his tiger head full of curiosity and exploration. He had a strong thirst for knowledge. The sword spirit had long been paying attention to all the movements in the surroundings, so he naturally saw Brother Tiger's movement first. He could not help but shout, "Don't touch this stone." Brother Tiger raised his head unhappily and looked at the sword spirit. He thought to himself, your master hasn't even said anything yet, and you dare to order Brother Tiger around? Is Brother Tiger someone you can order around? In his extremely bad mood, he simply sat down. I was caught off guard just now, but this time, Brother Tiger must sit down and watch. I don't believe that after I'm fully prepared, that chilling energy can still burrow into my butt and rebel against him. Of course, although he was dissatisfied, Brother Tiger also knew that this was a serious matter. In fact, he did not have any thoughts or plans to destroy the soul-suppressing stone, but the world was changing, and it was hard for everything to go according to one's wishes. As soon as he sat down, the cold yin energy suddenly rushed upwards with an unstoppable momentum. Brother Tiger rolled his eyes and used all of his yang qi to push down. I don't believe that I won't be able to suppress your yin qi. Thus, under Brother Tiger's the two powerful forces, one yin and one yang, began to clash with each other. And this point, if one only looked at it from the surface, nothing could be seen. Brother Tiger's small but sat there. Although it was small, it was still tightly seated. After all, that place was just a small hole. While competing with that force, Brother Tiger rolled his eyes and looked at the sword spirit. What he meant was, didn't you say that I can't sit down? Brother Tiger wants to sit down. I want to sit down steadily and for a long time. Do you think I'm an ordinary person? What can you do? What can you do? The sword spirit was completely helpless against this guy. So he did not care. But who would have thought that just because the sword spirit did not care, Brother Tiger actually directly created a super big trouble that blew up the heavens. Chapter 1807. Finally, after a long period of consideration, Chu Yang decided to give up. Just as the sword spirit had said, the treasures here were undoubtedly very important. If he could obtain them, it would definitely bring him unprecedented benefits. But the risk he would have to bear was equally huge. Once those powerful spirit creatures were released, he would definitely not be able to bear the damage that would be caused. At that time, there might be corpses floating for thousands of miles, and the tragic situation of people being plunged into misery and suffering. Chu Yang did not want that kind of result to happen to his own hands. Chu Yang had previously considered whether he should use this place to attract the heroes of the world and then reap the benefits. But now, it seemed that he had to give up on this plan. The risk was too big and he did not have the qualifications to reap the benefits of others. Chu Yang sighed and said, "Since the consequences are so serious, then let's not use this place." The sword spirit heaved a sigh of relief and said, Yes, let's not use this place." Chu Yang nodded and said, "Since it's like this, let's be a good person to the end. Let's set up some illusion formations around this soul-suppressing stone. First, to ensure that it will not be discovered by others. If it is discovered by others, there is still a great chance that those terrifying creatures will be released. Second, when we are strong enough, we can come and take over this relic. Heaven has taken pity on us. Lord Sword Master has finally changed his mind. Although his heart has not settled, as long as it is not opened immediately, everything can be discussed." The sword spirit's heart was finally relieved. But at this time, something suddenly happened that made the sword spirit feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Brother Tiger squatted there, his whole body trembling. Suddenly, there was a bang sound. Brother Tiger let out an earth-shattering fart. Then he suddenly jumped up and shouted, "That was close." He used his own energy to fight against the cold energy below. At first, he indeed had the complete upper hand, but after the cold energy below felt his suppression. At the same time, he felt that there was a passage that connected to the outside world. It was continuously gathering, and its power gradually increased, as if it was endless. As if it would never stop. In the end, it was as if thousands of horses were galloping, gathering from all directions. It gathered more and more and became stronger and stronger. Although Brother Tiger's power was strong, there was still a limit. Especially now, his injuries were far from fully recovered. Although he held on for a while, he finally reached the point where he could no longer suppress it. Therefore, he let out a smelly fart and quickly jumped away. He wanted to force himself. He was about to be completely devoured by the cold aura. Just as he was about to speak. However, he was surprised to see that both Chu Yang and the sword spirit had a dumbfounded expression on their faces. Following their gazes, their target was the soul-suppressing stone. Brother Hu looked over and couldn't help but let out a strange cry. It turned out that there was actually a dense black aura gradually spreading over there. Furthermore, this time, there was also a faint red energy entangling it. Brother Tiger could tell at a glance that the faint red energy was his own energy. The two forces entangled on the soul-suppressing stone. "Quickly withdraw your power. Things might change if we delay." Chu Yang shouted in a low voice. Brother Tiger hurriedly agreed. "Okay." Before he could finish his sentence, he heard a very faint but clear sound. Pa! The originally smooth surface of the soul-suppressing stone began to crack at a speed visible to the naked eye. Following which, a series of subtle but soul-shaking noises could be heard. Pai 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 pa pa. The two huge forces continued to fight on the soul-suppressing stone, one yin and one yang. Finally, the soul-suppressing stone was destroyed. The soul-suppressing stone that suppressed countless evil spirits, at this moment, began to slowly split. Chu Yang and the sword spirit were dumbfounded. Chu Yang and the sword spirit stared blankly at the unexpected change in front of them. They watched as a thin crack appeared on the soul-suppressing stone, revealing the inside of the holy light. Then, with a crackling sound, the entire soul-suppressing stone turned into a spider web. Following which, there was a soft bang sound. This soul-suppressing stone that might not appear even once in hundreds of thousands of years had completely turned into powder and was completely annihilated. At the place where the soul-suppressing stone was originally located, a round and deep hole suddenly appeared. Unfathomable. Bottomless. In the next moment, waves of dense cold energy surged out from within. The sword spirit was dumbfounded. He muttered, "The two of you are really something. One of you sat on the soul-suppressing stone, and the other smashed it with a fart. Oh heavens, oh earth, what kind of fellows am I with? Help, oh no!" Chu Yang reacted the fastest. He kicked a rock beside him to move, but he felt a sharp pain in his foot. In this Heaven Imperial Court, any random piece of rock actually had such hardness. Chu Yang had no time to be surprised. He had already gathered all his cultivation in an instant. He picked up the rock and smashed it into the hole. He wanted to block the hole. No! The sword spirit's voice was full of panic and urgency. But it was too late. The big rock smashed into the hole accurately with a bang. At the foot of the mountain, a few people were taking a nap in different directions. When they heard this sound, they jumped up at the same time and shouted, "Who is it? Who is it?" Another person said, "Someone is at the top of the mountain. Let's go. Let's go up and take a look." Yes, Fourth Master specially instructed us to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few figures rushed to the top of the mountain like lightning. Chu Yang smashed the rock down. When he heard the sword spirit say, "No," he already knew that what he was doing was inappropriate. But it was too late to change. The rock landed exactly where the hole was. But in the blink of an eye, the rock suddenly melted. And the black hole actually became as big as the rock. It was originally the size of a human head. But now it had become as big as a millstone. The soul-suppressing stone is broken. No matter what is used to block it, this passage will become as big as the thing that blocked it. The sword spirit said. He saw that the black gas and the extreme cold aura had already pounced in this direction with bared fangs and brandished claws. Go quickly. The sword spirit rushed into the tribulation space first. Go quickly. The great heavenly punishment thunder tribulation is about to fall. Before he finished speaking, Brother Tiger, who felt the terrifying power of the cold aura, had already bitten Chu Yang's wrist and flew up into the sky with a whoosh. Only then did he have time to enlarge his body. With a shake of his head, he threw Chu Yang onto his back. Chu Yang didn't have time to settle the score with Brother Tiger. He looked down dizzily and immediately cried out, "Oh my God!" He saw the billowing black gas. It had already covered half of the mountain and was still spreading gradually. In addition, he saw a few people rushing up the mountain from all directions. It looked like they were the people left behind by the Hua clan. In just a moment, those people had already rushed up to the top of the mountain and were immediately enveloped by the cold aura. Ah, what's going on? My eyes can't see. Ah, it hurts so much, continuous screams sounded. The few people who had just rushed up to the top of the mountain quickly turned into dried corpses at a speed visible to the naked eye. After turning into dried corpses, they maintained the posture of rushing up the mountain and rushed forward for a short distance. Then they tottered and slowly fell down, just as they fell down. The moment they touched the ground, they turned into bone powder. Chu Yang saw that, and even his but was emitting cold air. Among these people, the weakest one was an Earth-grade expert. There were even a few Heaven-grade experts. Any one of them was not weaker than a certain cat. At this moment, he had silently turned into ashes in this place, and the cold aura of the black hole was still spewing up like a volcanic eruption. Higher and higher. Looking from afar, it was like an even darker pillar in the deep night, gradually extending straight towards the blue sky. Thicker and thicker. After a moment, there was a thunderous sound in the distance. Dark clouds from all directions rushed towards here at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, the sky above was already covered with dark clouds. Almost without any preparation, a huge, rotating eye was already circling in the sky. As it circled rapidly, the eye of the vortex became deeper and deeper. That terrifying pressure from heaven and earth also became heavier and heavier. It was as if the entire mountain was going to be completely pressed into the ground. Brother Tiger saw that the situation was not good and shouted, Oh my God! With a whoosh, he carried Chu Yang and rushed out of this area. Being caught in the crossfire was not a joke. No matter how confident Brother Tiger was in his own strength, he did not dare to stay here any longer. That was a heavenly tribulation. In an instant, Chu Yang landed on the ground a few hundred miles away. Then he heard a thunderclap from a place very far away. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. A purple bolt of lightning that had completely condensed into a solid substance, surrounded by dazzling and dispersing sparks of lightning, crashed down with a loud bang. The entire land shook with a loud rumble. Even Chu Yang, who was far away, was shaken to the point that his feet left the ground and jumped up a few feet. One could imagine the terrifying power that the core of the lightning had to bear. Then, one after another, the sound of thunder rumbled from the heavens, and one after another, continuous thunderbolts came crashing down without any interruption. Chu Yang watched with cold sweat on his forehead and shuddered. Look at this situation. This matter is really big. Chu Yang turned around and glared at Brother Tiger. This is all your fault. Brother Tiger's head drooped and even his ears drooped. Obviously, he knew that he had done something that he should not have done. From time to time, he stole a glance at Chu Yang and avoided his eyes. What should I do now? Chu Yang frowned and did not know whether to laugh or cry. This time, I've really struck it rich. Brother Tiger raised his head and swept his tail on the ground. He said weakly, I really did not expect that thing to be so weak, just a fart and it exploded. As he spoke, he became somewhat self-righteous. What soul-suppressing stone, it can't even withstand a fart. Chapter 1808. What does that have to do with your fart? Chu Yang was both angry and amused. This is from P. This bastard really knew how to change the concept. It was clear that his cultivation had clashed with the yin energy on the soul-suppressing stone, causing this inexplicable thing to happen. He actually blamed it on a fart. Your fart has such great power. Who do you think you are? Thunder continued to roar, lightning continued to strike. That cold energy rose more and more from the ground, actually pushing against the flow, breaking through the clouds. The clouds rose up in an instant, rearranging the ceiling area. From higher up in the sky, even more terrifying lightning bolts fell down as if they didn't care about their lives. The earth was shaking. The mountains and rivers were trembling. Everyone was trembling. This was no longer something that could be done in a short period of time. An inexplicable fiendish aura spread out in an instant. At this moment, it was still in the vicinity of the infinite boundless mountains. At the next moment, it had already spread out for thousands of kilometers, and was even continuing to spread rapidly. In the sky, someone was looking over from afar, his face heavy and indescribable excitement. Fiendish aura, in spirit aura, heavenly punishment thunder. Could it be that the soul-suppressing stone has broken? This place is actually a dilapidated realm of the divine source? It's actually the ruins of an ancient super sect that was destroyed. This person sucked in a breath of cold air, but his expression was already one of uncontrollable excitement. This is a heaven-sent opportunity. This is a great opportunity that must be reported to the sect immediately. If we can take over this ruins, it will bring unimaginable benefits to the sect. With a swoosh, this person turned and left. The speed at which he left. It was 3 times faster than the speed at which he came, more than 3 times. Extremely far away. In all directions, on some mountain peaks that were surrounded by spiritual fog all year round, there were those secluded non-worldly people. All of them turned their gazes over. All the mysterious places that could be surrounded by 5-colored spiritual fog were all places where those legendary super sects were located. Most of these people were focused on cultivation, not caring about worldly affairs at all. Other than sending their disciples out to train every once in a while, and managing their businesses in the secular world, providing the sect with endless cultivation resources and daily necessities. They were basically existences beyond the mortal world. And any one of these sects was a giant that could shake the world. Just like some humorous sayings, although I'm not in Jianghu, Jianghu has its own legends. But this time, Almost all of these super-existences who rarely meddled in the affairs of the mortal world were alarmed. These people were especially sensitive to changes in spiritual qi. Countless ancestors and old monsters walked out of their secluded places and looked at the coldness and brutality in the sky with furrowed brows. In the blink of an eye, each of them made a decision with a solemn expression. The soul-suppressing stone is broken. The evil spirits came out, forged by the lightning of heavenly punishment. That place must have been the realm of divine source. It's the location of a certain ancient super sect. Since there's a soul-suppressing stone, it means that there are ruins there. Furthermore, it had never been damaged. It is currently ownerless. This is a grand occasion for all the sects, but it could also be a great calamity for all the sects in the world. However, this tribulation cannot be avoided. It was unavoidable. I don't mean to hurt anyone, but people might not mean me no harm. The sects have had enemies everywhere for thousands of years. If any of them benefits from it, our sect will be in danger. We must eliminate the danger in the germinal land. The best way to solve this problem was to claim the ruins as his own. In this way, our sect's strength will increase greatly. We must go. We must go. Not only must we go, but we must also send experts. The strongest experts, and the number of people must not be small. We must do our best to obtain the greatest benefits. These people were all old fellows. With just a glance, they could tell that something was amiss. And they quickly made a decision. This was also the saying that people in Jianghu had no choice. Some sects that were indifferent to fame and fortune had no choice but to enter the world to deal with this earth-shattering matter in order to protect themselves. Knowing that there were tigers in the mountain, they still went to the Tiger Mountain. Whether they were willing or not, they had to come. Following that, the mountain gates opened one by one, and the sound of bells slowly resounded through the thousands of mountains and valleys. Countless warriors in simple and unadorned clothes slowly walked out of the halls. When the bell rang, all the disciples of the sects gathered in the large square. It had been hundreds and thousands of years since such a gathering bell had rung. Somewhere in the east, a shattered soul-suppressing stone has been discovered. This is a great opportunity, but also a great danger. It is a matter of opportunity and danger coexisting. Our sect has closed the mountain gates for 500 years. In these 500 years, the Jianghu has produced many capable people, but we have not replenished new blood for a long time. This time, we also need to recruit people while we are out. If we find a talented youth, we can take him into the sect and make him a disciple of the inner sect to nurture the sect's future. This time, the matter is not a small matter. All the disciples who go out, your safety is the most important thing. We have specially selected 3 elders of the sect, 3 inner sect elders, 3 elders of the Dragon Hall, 1 first-generation disciple, 30 second-generation disciples, and 100 third-generation disciples. We will go out together. As for the leader, we will have to trouble you, Sky Ascension Pavilion Grand Elder. This was the location of the second largest sect in the Eastern Royal Heaven, the Lingxiao sect. The person who spoke was the sect master of the Lingxiao sect, Kuang Shuquan. And the Sky Ascension Pavilion was where the most respected elders of the Lingxiao sect were. The Grand Elder was, without a doubt, the most respected person in the Lingxiao sect. He was also the most experienced person in the Jianghu. With such an expert leading the team, they still had to select 3 elders of the sect to protect the sect, 3 inner sect elders to manage the disciples' cultivation, and 3 elders of the Dragon Hall to go out on special missions. It could be seen how much importance the Lingxiao sect placed on this mission. It had already reached an unprecedented level. Even the disciples of the first, second, and third generation were only selected. As for the disciples of the 4th generation and below, no one was selected at all. In other words, among the people who went out, the lowest cultivation was at least at the high level of the heaven stage. As for the highest, it was really hard to say. With such a high level of strength, as long as they didn't meet any other large sects of the same status, and didn't provoke the Eastern Royal Heaven's official forces, they would definitely be able to sweep through the entire Jianghu and deal with almost all difficulties. The Grand Elder had a white beard and white hair. His face was solemn as he stepped forward to receive the token. He said in a low voice, recruiting new disciples. This old man doesn't dare to make any guarantees, but I will definitely do my best to bring these disciples back safely. Thank you, Grand Elder, Kuang Shuquan said solemnly. It wasn't just the Lingxiao sect. The other super sects, hidden sects, large sects, small sects, without exception, all sent people out one after another. Even some of the overlords of the Jianghu on the surface were riding their horses and brandishing their whips. And it wasn't just the Eastern Royal Heaven, even the other heavens and earth were alarmed by the dense, baleful aura. Countless large sects began to move. Towards the Eastern Royal Heaven and Purple Cloud City, they flew towards the Eastern Royal Heaven. This concerned the big picture, so they had to be cautious. The 8 storms gathered in the Eastern Royal Heaven. Eastern Royal Heaven. Eastern Royal Palace. The Prime Minister's face was solemn. Great General Lan, immediately send out your capable men and personally monitor the area within 30,000 miles of Purple Cloud City. Don't give any orders, don't act without permission. What did the Lord say? A purple-faced man stepped forward and asked. This was Lord Lan, who was currently in charge of the mobilization of all the troops in the Eastern Royal Heaven. He was the commander of the entire Eastern Royal Heaven. He was definitely a person of high status and authority. Normally, he was on the same level as the Prime Minister. Now that he saw the Prime Minister giving orders directly, he instantly felt a little unbalanced. This old thing is ordering me around? Although you look old, we're about the same age. What right do you have to order me around? The Lord is currently not in the Eastern Royal Palace. The Prime Minister glanced at Lord Lan and said sternly, the Lord had already left the Eastern Royal Palace when the incident happened. I'm sure he's already at the scene of the incident. I believe everyone is aware of the seriousness of this incident, right? Everyone was speechless. Even the Lord is personally making a move this time? This is not normal. Isn't it just a broken soul-suppressing stone? It's not like this hasn't happened before. The Lord didn't even raise his eyebrows. Why is he in such a hurry to go personally this time? Lord Lan, do you have any other opinions? The Prime Minister looked at Lord Lan and asked mischievously. No opinion. Lord Lan's purple face turned even more purple. The Lord is already there. How can I have any opinion? You old thing, aren't you trying to frame me? If I didn't need to guard the Eastern Royal Palace to be safe, I would also go this time. A trace of worry flashed across the Prime Minister's old face. He said, this time, the chief guard of the Eastern Royal Palace is leading a team to assist. No one is allowed to act rashly. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. Their entire clan will be exterminated. If the sects below fight until blood flows like a river and can't be stopped, are we not going to do anything? It was still that purple-faced Lord Lan. This time, he wasn't just making a fuss. He was asking a real question. Even if they are really beaten to a pulp, as long as there's no order. The Prime Minister suddenly got angry. You can only watch. You can only smell. You can only listen. You can only wait. Even if your own son is chopped into pieces down there, if you make a move without permission, you will only end up with the extermination of your whole family. Lan Tianxiao. Do you understand? Do you have any other questions? The purple-faced Lan Tianxiao's forehead was covered with sweat. He swallowed his anger and said, I understand. Thank you for your advice, Prime Minister. Then, Lord Lan asked a few more questions. Chapter 1809. These questions were not meant to go against the Prime Minister, but were sincere. He had no choice but to ask. He did not dare to not ask. The situation in front of him had already exceeded everyone's expectations. Furthermore, the biggest problem now was, since you set the rules so strictly, I have to get to the bottom of it. Otherwise, how am I supposed to control my soldiers? As long as I get to the bottom of it, it's fine to eat a beating. If something goes wrong, it'll be game over. Eating a beating is better than being game over, isn't it? By the time Lan Tianxiao finished his questions, the Prime Minister had already sprayed saliva all over his face. The Prime Minister had worked with him for many years, but he had never had the upper hand like this before. He was in a good mood. Are you done asking? I'm done asking. Now that he was done asking the question, Lord Lan's tone wasn't as polite as before. He directly changed his attitude from a subordinate to an elder. The speed at which he changed his attitude was extremely fast, as expected of the commander of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms. Since you're done asking, hurry up and scram with your men. The Prime Minister waved his sleeves. Set off immediately. Then he disappeared with a so sound. Great General Lan, who was about to curse out loud, swallowed his words back into his stomach. Set off. Great General Lan's purple face turned black. With a wave of his hand, he left in a huff. Little did he know that the Prime Minister, who had just left, was no longer as comfortable as before. He had a heavy expression on his face as he muttered to himself, "That fellow is indeed restless after coming up. It's only been a few days and he's already caused such a huge commotion. Since the Lord rushed over personally, this matter must have been caused by that fellow. Only he would be able to receive such special treatment from the Lord. Sigh, that fellow is really too good at causing trouble. It's only been a few days and he's already causing the soul-suppressing stone to shatter. He even managed to encounter such a rare thing. He even managed to destroy it. How could he do that with his trash cultivation? He's really a troublemaker. Why did the Lord send him to the Eastern Royal Heavens in the first place? Couldn't he have sent him to other realms to cause trouble and bring disaster to other powers? Now look at him. He's wasting energy and carrying a spear. What kind of plaything is this? Sigh. With a long, heartfelt sigh, the Prime Minister finally disappeared without a trace. The lightning bolts became more and more concentrated. It seemed as if it didn't stop pouring out. Chu Yang and Brother Tiger witnessed the power of the heavens and earth. They were completely stunned and dumbfounded. He was tongue-tied. Chu Yang became more and more aware that he might have caused a very big trouble this time. Looking at this situation, his original intention would definitely be achieved. All the sects in the world would definitely be like sharks that smelled the scent of blood. They swarmed over. Moreover, the scope of this incident wouldn't just be limited to the Eastern Royal Heaven. He believed that all the great sects in the Heaven Imperial Court would have a big gathering because of this. His plan had succeeded. However, who would clean up this mess in the end? How to deal with it? His intention was only to provoke a few sects. Who would have thought that things would turn out this way? Fisherman's profit? Fucking fisherman's advantage. Not to mention those great sects that hadn't arrived yet, just those few people from the Hua clan were enough to make a certain king of hell's heart turn cold. Any one of those people was stronger than Chu Yang at his current stage. One or two of them were even heaven stage experts. Their strength was at least on par with that of Shifu. Such a person had been reduced to nothingness by the cold aura as soon as he came into contact with it. Was such a terrifying thing something that he could use? Even such a terrifying lightning tribulation couldn't destroy it. What did he rely on to dare to take advantage of that fisherman's advantage? Chu Yang was a little depressed. Once again, he felt the grievance of not having enough strength. He was asking for trouble. At this moment, he suddenly sensed something. For a moment, he couldn't help but feel his soul leaving his body. He turned his head like a whirlwind and saw a man in a white robe standing 3 feet away from him with a smile on his face. Seeing that he turned his head to look at him, he actually nodded with a smile of reunion after a long separation. His voice was gentle and pleasant. Long time no see. This person's voice wasn't loud. But the moment he opened his mouth to speak, the wind, thunder and lightning that filled the sky seemed to disappear the moment he spoke. Instantly, the sky was clear and bright again. Dawn reappeared on the horizon, just like the clearest afternoon. The clouds were light and the wind was clear. It was peaceful. But in reality, the violent thunder and lightning were still going on, and the momentum was getting more and more intense. But in the small circle where Chu Yang and this white-robed man were, it was quiet. So it's you. Chu Yang let out a deep breath. Since it's him, It's not surprising that he could approach me so quietly. If the current ruler of the Eastern Royal Heavens didn't even have this little ability, then the Eastern Royal Heavens would have been destroyed by the enemy long ago. This person was of course the current ruler of the Eastern Royal Heavens, Shui Leihan, the highest ruler of this world. His Majesty the Eastern Royal Heavens. To be honest, Chu Yang didn't expect to see him again so soon. He had originally thought that Shui Leihan would only come out to meet him when he had at least reached the saint level or the heavenly being level. Even when he had reached the peak, Shui Leihan might not even meet him. But he didn't expect to see him here. It was really an unexpected reunion. "Why are you here?" Chu Yang asked curiously. "Are you so free? Does His Majesty not have any official business to deal with?" Shui Leihan stared at him and shook his head with a smile. "I've never been free. No matter how I deal with official business, there's no end to it. But right now, I'm indeed here especially for you." "For me? Do I have such a big reputation?" Chu Yang pointed at his own nose and asked in a very unconfident manner. Chu Yang couldn't be blamed for this. In the heavens, Chu Yang might be a pioneer of a new era, a person who created myths and wrote legends. But in the heavens, he was nothing. At most, he was just a slightly stronger ant. At least in the eyes of the Eastern Royal Heavens Master, His Majesty the Eastern Royal Heavens. It was one thing to have a relationship, but the difference in strength between the two sides was still real. "You're so young but you really know how to cause trouble." Shui Leihan sighed softly. "How many days have you been up here?" He actually caused such a huge commotion. He pointed at the chilly fiendish aura that was still surging outwards. Chu Yang said somewhat sadly, "Do you think I want to? How would I know that something like this would happen?" He was blasted out with a fart? Blasted out with a fart? Even with Shui Leihan's composure, he still couldn't help but exclaim upon hearing this. He couldn't help but choke on the wind. Chu Yang rubbed his buttocks and grimaced as he nodded. This meant that it was indeed caused by his fart. Shui Leihan was speechless. For a moment he didn't know what to say. At this moment, Chu Yang naturally wouldn't betray Brother Hu. Shui Leihan would definitely clean up the mess for him since it was caused by him. Chu Yang was still confident about this. But if he were to say that Brother Hu did it, Shui Leihan would probably skin Brother Hu alive on the spot. This was definitely a possibility. "I can't help but say, you are indeed gifted. This kind of luck is really beyond the reach of ordinary people." Shui Leihan patted him on the shoulder. His tone was obviously a little emotional. Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. "So be it. Since you're here, I'll definitely have to rely on you to solve this mess. Do you have other intentions for causing such a huge commotion?" Shui Leihan looked at him inquiringly. "Yes, I do. Since that's the case, I don't care anymore. I believe you already have a detailed plan and the means to carry it out. Do it to your heart's content." Shui Leihan chuckled. Every time he was with Chu Yang, Shui Leihan could feel exceptionally relaxed and refreshed from the bottom of his heart. There was also a kind of relaxed joy in his mind. Even Shui Leihan himself was puzzled by this situation. He was in the heavenly imperial court. He was the #1 person below the Saint Monarch level. He controlled the entire heavenly imperial court, the Eastern Royal Heaven, which was the most vast. In this world, he was the highest ruler. It could be said that he looked down on the universe and had no reservations. However, he had become friends with Chu Yang when he was at his weakest. One was just an ant-like person struggling to survive in the lowest level, while the other was a super existence of the highest level, the most powerful deities. The two of them were actually friends and close friends at that. If this matter were to be spread out, even the Saint Monarchs would be shocked. But this just had to be the truth. It was an extremely absurd fact. Sometimes, even Shui Leihan himself found it unbelievable when he thought about it. Chu Yang certainly met the harsh requirements of the Tribulation Sword. But Shui Leihan didn't have to have such close connections with Chu Yang at all. As long as he found the successor of the Tribulation Sword, Shui Leihan could be considered to have completed the task entrusted to him by that mighty person. But for some reason, they just had to take a liking to each other and become friends. They hit it off at first sight. So, there were some things that Xue Leihan could have arranged for a few trusted subordinates to do, but he still chose to come personally. For example, this time. Xue Leihan really cherished the chance to relax like this. How many friends could an ordinary person in a high position, such as Xue Leihan, have? Generally speaking, there really wasn't a single one. A person in a high position couldn't have friends. Loneliness and solitude was the kind of feeling a person in a high position should have. Xue Leihan was very satisfied. Compared to the other emperors, he was really much more fortunate. In the entire heavenly imperial court, it seemed that only Chu Yang would speak to him in such a disrespectful manner. But he just felt comfortable listening to it. Strange. I still have to finish the updates before midnight? Sigh, there's still more than an hour left in this month. Chapter 1810. What did you say? You don't care? You don't care how I clean up this mess? Chu Yang jumped up instantly. Baidu search P.com, what are you saying? Why can't you clean it up? Didn't you do this because you have a plan and a way to carry it out? Is there something wrong with my understanding? Xue Leihan looked at him strangely. You have to know that if I really do it, the moment I do, the matter will be resolved. However, this realm of the God Source will also be completely destroyed in the next moment. In other words, no matter what plan you have, it will be completely for naught. Huh. Then what should I do? Chu Yang frowned. This was really troublesome. But what could he do? Those involved can't see clearly. Don't you have the Calamity Sword? Xue Leihan smiled faintly. He said with a smile, you already have such a heaven-defying item. Why are you still asking me? Calamity Sword? Chu Yang's eyes widened. The Calamity Sword has such an ability? You're not joking? Joking? I really don't have the time and energy for that. As for the ability of the Calamity Sword, Xue Leihan smiled lightly. It's definitely something you can't even dream of. Even I, when faced with this sword, I also have to... Xue Leihan didn't finish this sentence. He just suddenly changed the topic. Fine, since I'm here, I'll help you again. If the thunder of heavenly punishment is used to deal with it, it will be destroyed in the end. What a blind thing. Chu Yang rolled his eyes. This guy isn't scolding me, is he? Or is he scolding that guy who controls the thunder of heavenly punishment? But from his tone, it doesn't seem like he's scolding me. Since you want to stir up trouble, I'll help you again. Xue Leihan said indifferently, release the sword intent of the Calamity Sword. The sword intent of the Calamity Sword. Ever since he obtained the sword intent of the Calamity Sword, Chu Yang really hadn't used it much. It felt like he had obtained something but had no place to use it. Hearing this, he immediately waved his hand. A sword aura whizzed out. Xue Leihan drew a circle with his right hand and shouted, Go! All of a sudden, the sword aura shone brightly and soared into the sky like a divine dragon. Then, a loud and clear sword cry rang out. The dark night sky suddenly shone with a dazzling brilliance, illuminating the entire universe and illuminating the entire universe. At this moment, the night had completely turned into day. A magnificent sword light that spanned thousands of miles appeared in the sky. It cut through the dark clouds, forming a bridge of light that seemed to connect the heavens and the earth, and rushed down. In the air, it was clear that someone's teeth were chattering. Fuck, if that terrifying sword chi had landed on my body, she heard a dignified voice in her ear, I know it's not good. Get lost. Hearing the infinitely dignified and infinitely familiar voice, the cloud man trembled all over. He didn't even dare to say another word. He hurriedly waved his hand, and the dark clouds in the sky instantly disappeared without a trace, as if they had pissed their pants, after walking for tens of thousands of miles. Just as he was about to heave a sigh of relief, the voice chased after him again, My whereabouts must not be revealed. If you disobey, you will be executed. If there were any doubts, you might as well try it. Just as that person was about to heave a sigh of relief, he heard this voice. Suddenly, his whole body trembled, and he fell down from the dizziness. He directly fell to the ground in a daze. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. His subordinates hurriedly helped him up and asked with concern, "Sir, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Why you like this?" It was really strange. The sir in charge of the wind, cloud, thunder and lightning actually fell from the clouds, and his head was bleeding so badly. This was really seeing a ghost. That sir climbed up from the ground in a sorry state. He didn't even bother to wipe off the blood on his face, and hurriedly explained to erase everyone's doubts, "I was just training my body. Yes, I have to fall a few more times every day. It's good for my physical and mental health. Look, I'll fall again, bang. 1 2 3 4, 2 2 3 4, 3 2 3 4, fall again." This sir pitifully fell from the clouds again and again. His subordinates were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Facing such a situation, his subordinates indeed didn't have any doubts. They all had a new idea. "It's over. Our sir is crazy. Let's not talk about this side's reaction, it wasn't the main point." That sword light smashed down with a loud bang, right into the cave entrance that was constantly emitting cold energy. At that moment, it was really as if 1,000 miles of river was suddenly cut in half. The cold energy and demonic aura that was originally gushing out in all directions suddenly lost its source, and the demonic aura that was overflowing outside was also rapidly dissipating. At the entrance of the cave, there was a long sword that was as bright as snow. It was filled with the majesty of a sovereign, and it was inserted diagonally into the ground. It was majestic and unmoving. That cold energy and demonic aura didn't completely disappear, but could only continue to gush out from the two sides of the sword. Although it wasn't completely cut off. It didn't have that kind of crazy surge. At least the demonic aura that was emitted now would gradually dissipate into the wind when the sunlight just came out, and couldn't cause any harm anymore. Now, with the sword intent blocking the entrance, the cold energy can only dissipate slowly. And at this speed, it will also dissipate completely after 10 days to half a month. And at this level, as long as it comes into contact with the sun's yang energy, it will be completely dissolved and won't cause any harm to the human world, Shui Leihan said lightly. Amazing! Chu Yang exclaimed. To be able to control the intensity of the fire so accurately, he was indeed the best in the world. From now on, only you can pull out this sword. Shui Leihan raised his eyebrows. Are you satisfied with my arrangement? Satisfied, 100% satisfied. Chu Yang nodded repeatedly and then said, "Well, let the sword spirit have this qualification too. It's not convenient for me to show up for some things." You insidious guy. Shui Leihan laughed. The moment Chu Yang opened his mouth, he knew what Chu Yang was planning. He couldn't help but smile. He summoned the sword spirit, and after seeing Shui Leihan pointed with his finger. A black gas came out from the sword spirit, and merged with the sword intent on the mountain peak. "It's done," Shui Leihan said with his hands behind his back. "Thank you." "Well, you don't have to be so polite. To be honest, this cold energy is pure death. It's a pity that I can't use it for my cultivation. If some sects that cultivate evil spirits get their hands on it, I'm afraid they'll treat it as a treasure." Shui Leihan said with some pity. "Well, pure death energy?" Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. He thought of his own dantian, the yin-yang life and death dantian. Was it the? Chu Yang's eyes turned, and then he said, "Oh right, what exactly are you doing here?" Shui Leihan was stunned and a little dumbfounded. Did this guy still not know who he was doing this for? "Why haven't you left yet?" Chu Yang's face turned cold as he frowned and asked him to leave. "Isn't this matter already done?" Shui Leihan pointed at his own nose, somewhat in disbelief. "You're chasing me away?" He suddenly felt a little confused. The world was really upside down. I, the ruler of the Eastern Royal Heavens, was ordered to leave by someone in the Eastern Royal Heavens? Even in other places, no one would dare to do so. Chu Yang said matter-of-factly, "There's only you and me here. If I don't chase you away, should I chase myself away? Don't tell me there's someone else here. Even if there is. I don't know either. I just helped you, and you're chasing me away?" Shui Leihan had an impulse to beat the guy in front of him up. With you here, I'll be a hindrance. Chu Yang said righteously, having someone to rely on will be detrimental to my development. So, take care. I won't send you off. Shui Leihan's nose was crooked, and his finger that was pointing at Chu Yang was trembling. You're good. You're really good. You're really good. So small. You've got guts. Of course I've got guts. But I don't have to show it to you, right? Chu Yang laughed, and then he actually glared at him. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to see if I've got guts? Shui Leihan looked up at the sky. He didn't look at Chu Yang anymore. He was afraid that if he saw his face again, he would give it a hard punch. Yes, right. Luckily, you haven't left. I almost forgot something important. Chu Yang went over and touched Shui Leihan's shoulder with his shoulder. He said, I say, do you still have that wine? If you do, leave some for me. I've finished all of it. I haven't had enough. Whoosh! Shui Leihan disappeared. A sentence floated down from the sky. Why aren't you dead yet? This sentence was obviously said through gritted teeth, and it definitely came out from the gaps between his teeth. Then, silence returned to the sky. After a long time, there was no more movement. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. Looks like he's really gone this time. This guy is too stingy. He can't even bear to leave a pot of wine. He turned around, only to see Brother Tiger staring at him with his eyes wide open. His eyes were full of reverence as if he had seen a living immortal. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Chu Yang waved his hand in front of Brother Tiger. You're my boss. Brother Tiger said in a voice full of admiration, You're really my boss. I'm convinced. I've never admired a third person in my life. You're the second one. I'm convinced. I'm really convinced. You're too awesome. You're really too awesome. I didn't expect you to be so awesome even in my dreams. Chu Yang couldn't stand being slapped by this guy for no reason. What's wrong? Did you take the wrong medicine? Are you crazy? If not, there's no way to describe my admiration for you. Brother Tiger was obviously on the verge of breaking down. That person just now, he's so strong. Throughout my life, only my benefactor can be better than him. There's no one else who can be compared to him. Let's talk about it more vividly. You know my strength, right? When I was at my peak, my strength was at least 10 times more than now. But even if I was at my peak, he could still kill me with one slap. You know his level of strength now. You actually dared to talk to him like that just now, and even dared to chase him away like a fly. No matter if it's because you're ignorant or because you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, you still did it, and you even succeeded. Oh my God. You're too awesome. Chapter 1811. When Shui Leihan came just now, Brother Tiger immediately became obedient. He shrunk his body to the size of a mini and stayed in Chu Yang's arms for a long time, not daring to move at all. He only listened attentively to Chu Yang's conversation with him. The more he listened, the more impressed and excited he became. What an awesome person! What an awesome person! There's such an effect. Chu Yang definitely didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to get that kind of good wine that could raise one's cultivation. However, he didn't expect that he would completely subdue Brother Tiger. Could this be considered an unexpected surprise? Although he said things like, the ignorant are fearless, and the immensity of heaven and earth, which were more or less unpleasant to the ears, it was good that he was subdued. Also, Shui Leihan was already at such a level, yet Brother whose benefactor was still able to surpass him by a few notches. Just how powerful was that benefactor? Was there really such a powerful person in this world? Not thinking about these, Chu Yang waved his hand and the sword spirit flew directly to the vast mountains. It became one with the sword energy. The sword spirit tried to collect the gurgling black gas. It's really pure death energy. However, this kind of foundation is a little huge, said the sword spirit. Chu Yang didn't understand. I can only absorb a portion of it when I'm downloading it. I have to send it to your Dantian quickly. Otherwise, I won't be able to bear it, said the sword spirit honestly. That's great. Chu Yang was delighted. This was a pie that fell from the sky. He was just worrying about whether his cultivation speed was fast enough. He didn't expect that there would be so much death energy replenishment right away. I have to go back once every 4 hours. The sword spirit instructed, don't run around. Be ready to accept it at any time. But in the blink of an eye, Shui Leihan had already disappeared without a trace. Chu Yang, who had turned around, suddenly remembered an important matter. This matter was not as dispensable as asking for wine. He immediately slapped his thigh. Shit, he was so focused on talking just now that he actually forgot to ask this guy what kind of physique he had, whether it was good or bad, whether there were any drawbacks, and how to avoid them. Forget it, since he's gone, let's go. Chu Yang thought, it's better to rely on myself than on others. I'd better figure it out myself. What I figure out myself is the most suitable for me. Maybe it's better for me to keep it a secret if this guy doesn't know? Bringing Brother Tiger with him, Chu Yang leisurely returned to the Chu clan. On top of the vast mountain. At first glance, the sky was still filled with black gas. But in reality, it was already gradually dissipating. Without the large amount of support from the source of the cave, the baleful aura outside had become a tree without roots. It would only take a few days for it to be completely eliminated by the scorching sun. On top of the mountain, that sword. Light radiated in all directions, illuminating the surroundings. When Chu Yang returned to his room, Yen Rushan was already waiting for him. Where did you go? Yen Rushan's expression was solemn. I just went out for a walk. What else can I do? Chu Yang laughed hollowly. You know it too. I have another identity, which is a gambler. Yen Rushan heaved a sigh of relief and warned him solemnly. During this period of time, be it day or night, try not to go out. What's wrong? Chu Yang wasn't surprised by Yen Rushan's warning, but he still had to do his part. What's wrong? Something big had happened. It's a big deal. Yen Rushan's eyebrows were tightly knitted. This includes the 5 cities in the vicinity. Within a radius of 17,000 miles, it's going to become the center of attention. With your strength, you shouldn't even get involved. So what? Chu Yang stared at him with an innocent face. His face was full of puzzlement and confusion, and he was waiting for an answer. A soul-suppressing stone appeared here. Yen Rushan's eyebrows were tightly knitted as he paced slowly. He explained the origin of the soul-suppressing stone in a low voice. Finally, he looked up and sighed. Why would a soul-suppressing stone appear here? Why would such a rare item appear here? Why would a soul-suppressing stone shatter so easily? This is really puzzling. Chu Yang and brother who looked at each other. Puzzling? No way. Why would it appear? Why would it shatter? Both of them were the clearest about this. Yen Rushan stomped his feet and said, if I find out who caused this, I'll beat him to death. Chu Yang and Brother Tiger stared at each other and signaled with their eyes that they must not reveal anything. They would be beaten to death. Even if they were not beaten to death, they would be beaten half to death. In short, they just had to keep their mouths shut. Anyway, don't go out. Don't go out. Don't go out. After Yen Rushan said this, he leaped up and disappeared. I'll go and take a look. Don't act rashly. Yen Rushan had already disappeared. Chu Yang and brother who slumped down on the bed. Looks like we've really gone too far this time. In the next few days, the entire Wuxia city was in a mess. The entire Wuxia city, even the ordinary people in the city, could feel the unprecedented frenzy and depression. Everyone seemed to smell the scent of the end of the world. The number of martial artists in the city increased unknowingly. Not only did the number increase, but the quality was even more astonishing. Originally, it was rare to see Earth-grade martial artists, but now, Earth-grade martial artists could be seen everywhere on the streets. Heaven-grade martial artists weren't rare. Occasionally, there would be a few higher-grade martial artists strolling around. Every time they walked on the streets, they would be on full alert, eyeing covetously. If there was a disagreement, there would be a full-scale fight on the streets. Occasionally, there would be a few puddles of blood on the streets after a night. The atmosphere of the entire city was oppressive and dignified. It was like the dead silence before a storm. The city lord was no longer excited because he had recovered from his illness. He was so worried that there were many more white hairs on his head. During this period, countless outsiders entered Wuxia city. Slowly, Wuxia city, which was originally not very big, became a little crowded because of the population problem. What the fuck was this? Especially the inns in the city, they were basically close to the point of being overcrowded. These weren't the reasons for the city lord's headache. The real headache for the city lord was that the infinite boundless mountain that the Hua clan had just paid for was actually the legendary Divine Source Realm. If the higher-ups knew that he had sold the Divine Source Realm just like that, he wouldn't be able to continue being the city lord anymore. Of course, this wasn't the most serious matter, because that Divine Source Realm was actually damaged, and the soul-suppressing stone had appeared in it. If they knew that he had sold such a place, and that it had been damaged, it would trigger a terrifying heavenly tribulation. His entire family had basically reached the end of their lifespan, and this wasn't the most serious matter. The truly serious matter was that the people who had destroyed the soul-suppressing stone were simply amateurs among amateurs. If they had destroyed it, then so be it. How could they have left behind such a huge trace, and actually caused the baleful Yin Qi to shoot up into the sky? That was truly a long-lasting thing. It was precisely because of this that the entire Heaven Palace was shaken. According to the news, not only the Eastern Royal Heavens, even the super sects of the other heavens and earth had started to take action. There was only one target, and that was this place. More than 70% of the large sects, hidden sects, and immortal residences had already started to take action. As for those that weren't recorded, it didn't mean that they weren't taking action. Perhaps they had already started to take action long ago, just that their methods were more secretive. It was just that no one knew. Facing these people, facing these huge and unstoppable forces, the entire Purple Cloud City could be destroyed with a single thought from them. If Purple Cloud City was gone, and his entire family would definitely be wiped out. At this moment, the city lord flew into a rage, as though he had gone mad. His only thought was to quickly find Fourth Master Hua. As long as he saw this fellow, he would swallow him alive. This bastard! You have caused my death. You have harmed my entire family, and even my entire clan. However, Fourth Master Hua was like a drop of foam that had been completely submerged in the sea, and there was no longer any trace of him to be found. The city lord was so angry that his stomach was about to explode, but he couldn't find any place to vent his anger. Another secret location. Fourth Master Hua was also flying into a rage. What's going on? What's going on? Who can tell me? What the hell is going on? Countless people around him kept quiet out of fear, afraid that they would be scolded if they said a single word. Tell me, why did the soul-suppressing stone shatter without any warning? Who was it that leaked the news? Who did it? Tell me. Fourth Master Hua was seething with anger. His eyes were blood red as he stared at his subordinates. His gaze was as though he wanted to eat them alive. In Fourth Master Hua's hands, there was an item that was covered in the marks of time. It seemed to be a map. Right now, it had already been wrinkled by Fourth Master Hua. A treasure map. Fourth Master Hua truly wanted to vomit blood. But even if he did, what problem could he solve? Ever since 200 years ago, his family had coincidentally bought this treasure map from an auction in the East Imperial Kingdom. They had mobilized countless manpower and resources to search the entire East Imperial Kingdom for 200 years. An entire 200 years. Even if they didn't count the several 100,000 purple cloud coins that they had spent on the treasure map, just the manpower and resources that they had mobilized in these 200 years had already exceeded 5 million purple cloud coins. Purple cloud coins. They had finally found the location, and even found some clues. Furthermore, they had already paid the money and reached an agreement with the officials, turning the ownership of that place into their own. It hadn't even been 5 days since they had calmed down. How did the entire world know about it? Since things had already developed to such a stage, the Hua family's insignificant strength meant that they wanted to devour this treasure trove. It was simply a pipe dream. There was no possibility at all. Even if they wanted to get a share of the profits, it had become an extravagant hope, a fantasy. Moreover, whether or not they could escape from this supervortex was still unknown. After hundreds of years of hard work and tens of millions of purple cloud coins, for this treasure, the entire family's finances had been completely overdrawn. The family's power had shrunk because of this matter, and they had finally seen a ray of hope, but at the last moment, it had all been given to someone else. When Fourth Master Hua thought of this, he finally couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Could it be any more tragic? What a scam! Chapter 1812. Hua and the others, we still don't know where they are, we don't know if they were harmed or… Another person stammered. Baidu search, I don't care if they die. Fourth Master Hua was enraged. Fourth Master Hua's anger caused everyone to keep quiet out of fear. However, the heartlessness he displayed now made them feel even more disappointed. Hua and the others had always been loyal to the Hua clan and had even gone through fire and water for so many years. However, it was such people who, after going missing, only ended up as I don't care if they die, in Fourth Master Hua's words. He was actually so heartless. If I also went missing or died, what would Fourth Master Hua say? With such a master, if I really died, how would my family be treated? Everyone felt dejected as they forced themselves not to think further. The atmosphere of a fox grieving for the death of a rabbit engulfed the entire place. Now that things have come to this, we can only immediately inform the clan and see if the old ancestor can appear personally. Only with him appearing will we have a chance to obtain the benefits first. Otherwise… Fourth Master Hua waved his hand impatiently, do it immediately. One person immediately turned and left. This matter was urgent and had to be reported immediately. Also, this matter was leaked in such a strange manner. Perhaps it was that bastard Dong Lai who leaked it. It doesn't make sense that we would be exposed right after we told him about buying Infinite Boundless Mountain. This timing is too coincidental. It must be him. Fourth Master Hua's eyes were malicious. Now that the clan is weak, we cannot kill Dong Lai openly. However, I will definitely make him regret it for the rest of his life. After pondering for a moment, he finally ordered decisively, the three of you, sneak into the Chu clan tonight and kill that divine Dr. Chu on the spot. Kill divine Dr. Chu. The three Hua clan experts looked at each other. This matter has nothing to do with that Chu Yang at all. At the end of the day, you are just using him. Why do you want to kill him for no reason now? What kind of logic is this? What kind of person are we following? Nonsense. Fourth Master Hua said furiously, Dong Lai is suffering from an illness that only Chu Yang can treat. It is said that half a year is needed to treat him. Now, only a month has passed. He is definitely not cured yet. Dong Lai revealed our great secret, causing us to fail on the verge of success and our plan to fail. How can we let this go? However, Dong Lai is the city lord of Xixia City and is a member of the government. We have the heart but are powerless to do anything to him. But we can't kill Dong Lai. You still can't kill Chu Yang? As long as I kill Chu Yang, that bastard Dong Lai will be sick for the rest of his life. Fourth Master Hua laughed coldly. The three of them suddenly understood. It turned out that they wanted to kill divine Dr. Chu just to prevent him from treating the city lord. What a ruthless person, what a vicious method. The three of them felt that it was a pity. Even if he couldn't recruit such a godly doctor for his own use, he would still be able to recruit him. He should try to maintain a good relationship with her. After all, who wouldn't get stabbed when they were in the Jianghu? As long as he was stabbed, how could he not seek medical treatment? The existence of divine Dr. Chu was definitely a great blessing for martial artists. Why would he kill such a godly doctor just to treat Dong Lai? That was a little too unreasonable. The three of them couldn't help but hesitate. What? Fourth Master Hua looked at the three of them coldly. You're not willing? Fourth Master, please reconsider my ass. Everything was destined to fail. Fourth Master Hua was already close to madness. Do you want to rebel? We don't dare. If you don't dare, then listen to my orders. Tonight, I must see Chu Yang's head. Put it on my table. Fourth Master Hua roared. The three of you, go to the disciplinary hall to receive your punishment after you return home. You know clearly what kind of crime it is to disobey an order before a battle. Yes. The three of them looked at each other helplessly. In a faraway place, on a certain mountain, everyone here was discussing about the appearance of the evil spirit and the shattering of the soul-suppressing stone. This wasn't an ordinary place. It was the headquarters of the notorious wild wolf bandits. These bandits came and went like the wind. Every single one of them was a powerful martial artist. Their whereabouts were also mysterious. Even the government couldn't do anything to them. They had been besieged several times. They had escaped unscathed. But they obviously didn't have the right to ask about or touch the soul-suppressing stone. In the end, they were just bandits. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Emotianji, dressed in white, slowly walked into a hall with a gentle smile on his face. A ferocious-looking man stood up. Military Advisor Mo, please take a seat. Let's discuss. Emotianji slowly sat down. What's the matter? Regarding the soul-suppressing stone, should we? Emotianji smiled and said quietly. The burly man on the other side nodded and said, if that's the case, let's clean up that town first. Military Advisor Mo, I'll snatch a few women to warm your bed this time. Emotianji smiled and nodded. Tonight let's get drunk. Good. The great Khan laughed wildly, raised his cup and drained it. It was noisy and lively outside. In the hall, other than the maids, there were only 3 people drinking. Gang leader, vice gang leader, military advisor. The 3 of them were clearly drunk. Emotianji also seemed to be unrestrained. Today all of you are drunk, only I'm not drunk. The 2 men opposite him were drunk. Nonsense, you're the drunk one. If you're not happy, drink more. Emotianji stood up shakily and walked over with a wine bowl. He staggered. Let's drink. Who's afraid? Come. The 2 of them picked up their wine bowls and gulped it down. At this moment, Emotianji suddenly staggered and arrived in front of the 2 like a ghost. Then, a cold and bright sword light flew past without any warning. 2 arrows of blood spurted into the air. 2 heads rolled on the ground. The gang leader's head rolled on the ground. He could not believe it and his eyes were full of questions. Why? This was the last thing he wanted to say, the question that he didn't ask. I'm sorry. Because I'm the only one in charge here. Emotianji said casually with a calm smile on his face. I'm sharpening my sword in Imperial Court. How can I be under someone else? Not to mention a scoundrel like you. The 2 bodies fell down with a thud. Emotianji moved his body, and the maids around him only had time to let out a scream before they slowly fell down while clutching their throats. After a long time, Emotianji was covered in blood. He pushed open the door of the hall and suddenly rang the bell. Everyone gathered around. Facing everyone's questioning eyes, Emotianji slowly said, the gang leader and vice gang leader have been killed by me. Now, I'm the one in charge here. My words. This is the only order. Anyone who disobeys will die. Everyone was dumbstruck. Since I'm the one in charge here, it can't be called Wild Wolf anymore. From now on, it'll be called Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Emotianji smiled and said slowly, together with the blood on his body. That faint smile was as scary as a devil's grin. Heavenly Armament Pavilion needs strict orders. From now on, anyone who disobeys orders will die. Emotianji looked around and said with a smile. He waved his hand. A few people suddenly rose from the crowd and cut the people around them in half. Those who were killed were all loyal to the original gang leader. Each of them took care of one person. It was neat and clean. Blood flowed. Blood flashed. The smell of blood swept through the hall. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to make the slightest move. Those people stepped forward and knelt down. Long live Heavenly Armament Pavilion. We are willing to sacrifice our lives for the pavilion leader. Let's create a glorious future together. Emotianji smiled. He looked at the white clouds in the distance and muttered, Heavenly Armament Pavilion. It will sweep through the entire Heaven Imperial Court. Today's legend will begin. At another place. At a junction, Dong Wuxiang held his dark saber and slashed like a demon. He forced the group in front of him. Are you going to hand it over? Are you going to submit? Are you going to kneel? Are you going to listen? As long as you listen to me, Second Master Dong promises you a good life in the future. Do you understand? If you understand, then say something. Are you going to hand it over? Are you going to submit? Are you going to kneel? Are you going to listen? From now on, we'll be called Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Dong Wuxiang shouted, What is Heavenly Armament Pavilion? Heavenly soldiers and generals. We'll rob the entire Heaven Imperial Court. Behave yourselves. At another place. Where can I find a soulmate? The tip of Gu Duxing's floating sword slashed across the throat of an enemy in front of him. Blood splattered everywhere as he landed. He faced the remaining people. Surrender or die. Surrender and join the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. You'll be my people. Those who don't surrender will die. At another place. Ao Shiyun transformed into a golden dragon and went on a rampage. His huge body was a divine dragon that could only appear in myths and legends. It was especially shocking. Are you willing to surrender? Join the Heavenly Armament Pavilion? I, Ao Shiyun, will lead you to roam the world. A golden-winged phoenix flew all over the sky, leaving behind streaks of incomparably dazzling traces in the air. Finally, it landed on a mountain. Little ones, this is what I stole this time. Everyone hurry up and cultivate. If anyone can't keep up with the progress, I'll skin him. Our Heavenly Armament Pavilion and Thief Hall must be at the forefront. We can't fall behind others. I, Ray Badong, can't afford to lose face. Everyone, remember, I'm the person with the highest cultivation in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion other than the Pavilion Master. I was, am, and will be. So, my subordinates must be the same. My subordinates don't need to be very strong. They must be the strongest. At another place. Great Demon King Tan Tan sat high up on his throne. He looked at the group of people who were crawling and trembling in front of him and scolded angrily, You bunch of trash. Are you all shocked by my handsomeness? Why aren't you speaking? I didn't establish the Heavenly Armament Pavilion to raise trash like you. If I don't see the results tomorrow, I'll cut off your heads automatically and throw them into the cesspool. Soul-suppressing stone? What does that soul-suppressing stone have to do with us? Our task now is to earn money. Earn the most money and increase our strength. Expand our influence. Do you understand? If you don't, come and let me chop you. If you understand, then scram. Go to work. Everyone retreated. One by one, they ran all over the place to do their work. Chapter 1813. On the other side. GMO slapped a man in front of him and sent him flying. Bastard, we, the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, never kidnap women. You actually did things behind my back and ruined my reputation, making me unable to raise my head in front of my brothers. Dog ant. I'll give you 3 days to marry her, get your father-in-law's approval, and immediately consummate your marriage. Otherwise, I'll make sure you can't touch a woman for the rest of your life. If something like this happens again in the future, there's no need to say anything else, just kill him. Do you hear me? You're really rebelling. Dog ant. Fuck your dog ant. All of you, get ready to fight. Hurry up and do your work, what are you waiting for? Hey, I asked you to spy on that rich man Zhang, how are you doing? Dog ant. You useless piece of trash. If you can't do this before this afternoon, I'll dry you up and hang you on the flagpole to dry. Get lost. At another intersection. Many people were carrying goods and were walking on the mountainous and dense forest road in Ongwa. There were flags of the government on top. No matter what, these were all government goods. In the eastern royal heavens, no one dared to rob government goods. So everyone was relieved. All of a sudden. A wolf howl resounded in the air. Then, countless wolves howled in response. A whoa, don't be too surprised, it was definitely not a gathering of 10,000 wolves. Because as long as one paid attention, one would be able to sense that many people were just stretching their necks and howling like wolves. Then, a rascal swaggered out of the forest in front of them. He stood in the middle of the road, looking at the sky and leaning his sword on the ground. Oh, this mountain was opened by me, and this tree was planted by me. If you want to pass, pay the toll. Awoo! The wolves howled together again. Awoo! A guy howled. Suddenly he came to his senses. A young man approached him and said, "Boss, this is government goods. You can't rob it, or you'll be in big trouble." What government goods? When have we, the wolves of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, been afraid of anyone? This guy was of course Luo Kadi. He shook his head and said, "Rob it? We've robbed too many government goods. What can you do to me? If you piss me off, I'll steal your goods in the future. Go." After snatching this batch, he would quickly go to the next location to snatch the medicinal herbs. How could he cultivate without a solid foundation? How could he improve without medicine? Oh, let's charge. Awu, Second Master Luo snatched this batch of official goods without a care. However, he had also poked a hornet's nest. Thus, Second Master Luo led his pack of wolves into a life of wandering about and being besieged on all sides. Well, this is a story for another time, so let's not talk about it for now. In another place, brilliant and colorful flower petals spun beautifully in the air. She was filled with dreamy beauty. However, every time that beautiful flower turned, every time it fluttered, it would bring about a bleak, bloody light, taking away a fresh life. Viburnum flowers. Her beauty was unparalleled, desolate beyond the world. Xie Dan Qiong's hands danced in the air, and countless viburnum flowers bloomed in the air. Quick! This is the first time since the establishment of our Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Your hands and feet must be clean. Xie Dan Qiong ordered loudly. My name is Xie Dan Qiong, the helmsman of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Xie Dan Qiong's handsome face had a valiance that was not there when he was at the heavenly layer. As the saying goes, every wrong has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. If you are not convinced, our Heavenly Armament Pavilion will await your revenge at any time. Let's go. The group of people quickly disappeared into the depths of the forest with their spoils. No one knew where they went. On the other side, facing countless scoundrels, a lecherous smile appeared on their faces. A little girl as beautiful as a pearl cowered in fear. Her face was full of fear. Don't come over. I've drawn this line. Don't come over. It's best not to come over. If you come over, you will die. Was the little girl begging for mercy or crying? But no matter what, it would not work on this bunch of lustful guys in front of her. Little beauty, big brother is here. What's there to be afraid of? If I die under a peony flower, I will still be a romantic ghost. I am a lecher to begin with. Big brother lecher is here. Little beauty, big brother will dote on you. A bunch of hooligans rushed over with drooling faces, fighting to be the first. Just as they crossed the line, someone suddenly screamed. What's going on? Another person covered his eyes. My eyes, why can't I see? My legs don't feel anything. There were even people who fell down for no reason and could not get up again. Dozens of people, without exception, all had strange symptoms. Although their symptoms were different, none of them were unscathed. Opposite them, the little girl as beautiful as a pearl giggled. I sincerely advised you not to come over previously, but you insisted on coming over. I can't do anything about it. It's not my fault that something happened to you. Hee. Do you think I, the great miss of heavenly poison, am so easy to bully? I don't even need to lift a finger to deal with you. This little girl was, of course, Chu. Everyone was rolling on the ground, begging and cursing. Chu turned a deaf ear to them and looked on coldly with a smile. After a while, after confirming that everyone had lost the ability to resist, Chu Luo walked over leisurely and plundered all the wealth from everyone, throwing it into her spatial ring. Pooey, what a bunch of paupers. You don't have anything good. I'm really disappointed. How dare you chase a beauty when you don't have money? How degrading. Great Miss Chu was obviously very dissatisfied with her gains this time. I get angry when I'm disappointed. So all of you can go to hell. With a wave of her hand, she left gracefully. A cloud of black fog appeared out of thin air and quickly infected those people. Shrill screams immediately rang out. Before long, a pool of blood appeared on the ground and slowly seeped into the soil. As for those burly men, it was as if they had evaporated into thin air, completely disappearing without a trace. The onlookers who were afraid of getting into trouble or those who had evil intentions but didn't have the guts to do it saw this scene and broke out in cold sweat. Who was the great miss of heavenly poison? She was a reaper. And so, the name of the great miss of heavenly poison spread like wildfire. In another place, Wu Juecheng strolled on the road. In the dense forest behind him, corpses were strewn everywhere. I have to raise my strength as much as possible in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, how can I face my brothers? Wu Juecheng muttered to himself. If I want to have strength, I have to accumulate a lot of wealth. And I have to have elixirs. At this critical moment, I have to use some methods that I shouldn't use. Wu Juecheng moved faster and faster, disappearing in front of him like a shooting star, far away. Clouds and mist filled the air and the spiritual energy was like smoke, as if taking shape. Obviously, this was a godly source realm in perfect condition. Moreover, it was a complete godly source realm that had already formed a huge array of heaven and earth. The spiritual energy had already turned purple due to excessive density, indicating that this godly source realm had existed for at least 100,000 years. In fact, it had been even longer. The truth was so. This was the place where the dreamlike veranda, the #1 sect in the Eastern Royal Heaven, was located. The dreamlike mundane world veranda had always been a force to be reckoned with under the heavens, firmly occupying the top spot in the Eastern Royal Heaven sect. The person at the helm of the dreamlike veranda could even speak on equal terms with the East Royal Palace. This showed how powerful the dreamlike veranda was. A group of 100 people flew out of the dreamlike veranda's mountain gate, flying towards the boundless secular world. They have gone to check on the soul-suppressing stone. They will be back soon. A beautiful woman in snow-white clothes said softly, "Don't worry about your uncle master." In front of her, there was a peerless beauty in blood-red clothes. Although she was still a little young, she was already in the womb of a peerless beauty. She just stood there like that, but she was like a flower bud of peerless beauty, blooming in this misty land. She attracted passionate and admiring gazes from all around. However, no one dared to make the slightest bit of rash action. Everyone knew that this little girl was the personal disciple that the first elder of the sect had just accepted. Her aptitude was so good that it could be said that she was a one-of-a-kind peerless genius in the entire heavenly imperial court. Such a woman was truly a proud daughter of the heavens. Such a proud daughter of heaven was not someone that anyone could match up to. Even the slightest bit of wishful thinking would cause trouble. Just being the first elder of the sect, one would not be able to pass at all. Although she had only been in the sect for half a month, her extraordinary beauty, her unprecedented potential, and her pure and holy temperament. Almost all the male disciples who had seen her before had been conquered by her. Although this little girl had only been in the dreamlike veranda for half a month, she had already snatched the title of the #1 beauty of the dreamlike veranda. She did not even take the initiative to snatch it, but it was recognized by everyone. The older ones all treated her like a pearl, afraid that she would fall in their hands, afraid that she would melt in their mouths. Innate spiritual body. Oh my God. Even the powerful dreamlike veranda had not had such a genius disciple in hundreds of thousands of years. As for those young disciples who were of marriageable age, they were even more infatuated, their souls lingering in their dreams, yearning for her even in their dreams. At the beginning of their meeting, they had already completely bowed down to her red dress. But she did not give any face to anyone. She always had a cold and pretty face, with a faint worry on her face. But the more it was like this, the more it made people's hearts itch. At this moment, this peerless beauty was frowning and frowning. She said softly, "Master? I was wondering if Martial Ant could help me find out the whereabouts of Brother Chu Yang." The beautiful woman in white subconsciously rolled her eyes and muttered in her heart, "What is that Brother Chu Yang? He actually made my disciple so infatuated. Fortunately, I was extra careful and specially instructed junior sister not to ask about Chu Yang this time. Even if she accidentally found out, she must not say anything. After all, he is a chick who has just ascended. Maybe he is already dead. It is best if he is dead, so as not to hinder my precious disciple's future. That thing called lust is something that greatly affects the progress of cultivation. Chapter 1814. The beautiful woman in white sighed in her heart. For a genius like Jianghu, even if her progress was a little slow, it would be a dereliction of duty as her master. Update P. Every time she saw the envious and jealous gazes of her seniors and juniors, the beautiful woman felt a little smug. Who asked you guys to be so unlucky that you couldn't get such a genius disciple? Who can you blame? Wah. Jianghu, let's go back and practice. When we're done, I'll make you something good to eat. Be good, be obedient. The adult and the child walked inside, ignoring the scorching gazes that were interwoven into a heavenly net around them. Coo coo coo. A strange sound suddenly came from Jianghu's pocket. What's in your pocket? It's so strange, the beautiful woman asked curiously. Before she finished speaking, a small pink and snow-white head had already sneakily popped out of Jianghu's pocket, a pair of big round eyes looking around curiously. Wind fox? It's actually a wind fox? The beautiful woman exclaimed softly, her eyes full of disbelief. And it's a mutated and evolved wind fox, really rare. Let me take a closer look. As she spoke, she stretched out her hand, and the wind fox actually floated out of Jianghu's pocket and into the beautiful woman's palm. The wind fox was less than the size of a palm, really cute to the extreme. At this moment, its whole body was restrained, squeaking, pitifully asking Jianghu for help. Good, don't be afraid, be good, my master is just looking at you. Jianghu comforted softly. This is actually your contracted spirit beast? The beautiful woman's eyes were like lightning, full of shock as she looked at Jianghu. Yes, master. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Jianghu asked curiously. What's wrong? How can the heavens care so much for a person? Girl, you're really blessed by the heavens, envied by others. The beautiful woman's face was a little broken. Your aptitude is already so heaven-defying. You actually have a super-level spirit beast with a boundless future. Oh right, what did you feed this wind fox before? The beautiful woman looked around. How did such a super-level change happen? It ate a lot of things, one after another, a lot. I don't know what exactly happened. Jianghu said, just the inner cores of spirit beasts alone, he ate no less than 10,000 of them, and he ate, and what else? Let me think. The beautiful woman waited nervously for Jianghu's reply. I remember that it eats mysterious ice jade essence, mysterious yang jade essence, heavenly moonlight treasure, jade snow spirit ginseng, ethereal heavenly crystal, mysterious heaven divine marrow, and also spring of life, primordial purple vapor, heaven nourishing jade. There are simply too many, and there are still many that I can't remember clearly. Jianghu fiddled with her fingers. That's right. He even ate 2 pieces of souls of the purple crystal. Jianghu spat out word by word. The beautiful woman's eyes grew bigger and bigger, and her face grew paler and paler. She looked like she was about to faint. Her delicate body was on the verge of collapsing. Oh heavens! Oh the earth! Oh gods, listen to this. What did this little girl feed this wine fox? There were so many good things. Even in the Heaven Imperial Court, they were the best things that only existed in legends and could only be found by chance. She actually fed them to her pet. My goodness, Jianghu, you fed all these things to this little beast? The beautiful woman almost fainted. What's wrong? I think this little fellow likes these things quite a lot. He's not picky at all. Jianghu blinked innocently. What's wrong? Not picky? The beautiful woman wanted to cry. She really wanted to cry. I'm not picky either. Why didn't you give me those things? Since it's already like this, There's no point in pursuing this any further. Little girl, let me tell you. With those things as a foundation, this little fellow will definitely become a divine beast in the future, or even higher. The beautiful woman sighed speechlessly. There was something else that she was too embarrassed to say. But if these things are used on you, your achievements will be even higher, and you'll be able to look down on everyone. Holding on to this slim hope, the beautiful woman asked in a trembling voice, "Then, do you still have these things for yourself?" "Myself?" Jianghu was somewhat disdainful. She said, "Of course I have them." "What's wrong with Master today? Why does she seem to have gone silly? I'm already rich enough to feed these things to spirit beasts. How can I not have them?" It had to be said that Chu Yang would never treat his Jianghu unfairly. Jianghu had at least one set of all the things that he had mentioned a moment ago. It wasn't much, but it was enough for the little girl's own use. The beautiful woman fainted from happiness. "It's right here. Master, do you want to see?" Jianghu touched her space ring. Don't know. My little grandaunt." The beautiful woman was extremely nervous. She held her back. "Come with me. Hurry up. Hurry up. Hurry up." In the end, she couldn't bear it anymore. She simply picked up Jianghu and rushed to the main hall. This matter was no small matter. If this was really the case, with this little brother, our dreamlike veranda would not only be the strongest sect in the Eastern Royal Heavens, but also the strongest sect in the entire Heavenly Imperial Court. This was a matter of great importance. She had to discuss it properly with the sect master and the various elders. In the main hall of the dreamlike veranda, a group of peerless experts looked at the things that Jianghu took out and collectively lost the ability to speak. Looking at the small wind fox jumping around on Jianghu's body, everyone's face revealed sincere envy and jealousy. Such a good thing is only given to this little bastard? Why didn't we meet? This matter is the top secret of our sect. Nothing can be leaked. The sect master made a prompt decision. "Junior sister, these things, of course, should be used by Jianghu. Don't waste them." As he said this, he pondered for a moment. "Yes." The beautiful woman agreed loudly. "Yes, junior sister, this little brother. Cough cough, your place is a little remote. Why don't you give it to me? I can give her a better environment and treatment." The sect master said somewhat embarrassedly. Everyone in the main hall stared at the sect master with disdainful eyes. They had never seen such a shameless person. On the day of accepting a disciple, you snatched it once, and now you're snatching it again. As expected of the sect master, the thickness of his skin is really beyond our reach. But no matter how shameless you are, it's useless. If it could be snatched, would it be your turn? Didn't you see that junior sister even rejected the elder ancestor? No. This matter is not negotiable. The beautiful woman resolutely rejected with a strong sense of righteousness. Don't even think about it. With Jianghu in her arms, she left with a whoosh. The sect master touched his nose and smiled bitterly. His expression didn't change. As expected of the sect master. Who wouldn't want such a disciple who would bring glory to the sect? This was also human nature. The group of old guys stood up one by one, looked at the sect master with disdain again, and left. But once they went out and returned to their exclusive small enclosed space where no one could see, this group of old guys suddenly lost their composure. They jumped and sighed. Just now, they were just envious and jealous. Now, they were a little hateful. It wasn't that they hated Jianghu, but they hated themselves. Why didn't they persevere a little more back then? If they had persevered a little more, this disciple might have been theirs. With such a disciple, losing a little face was nothing. We're rich. Our dreamlike mortal pavilion is definitely going to be rich. Sigh. Why didn't I be the first to meet such a good seedling? It really benefited Old Seven for nothing. I really regret it. Old Seven's mission should have been me, but I was too lazy to move, so I let her go. In the end, I came back with a hot pancake and picked up the #1 genius of the Heaven Imperial Court. Why was I so lazy? I really regret it to death. Bang 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 bang. Old Seven is really lucky. Such a good seedling was picked up by her. Sigh. Master, I request to see you. I have something important to ask for your help. Her direct disciple requested to see her. Come in. Yes, Master. I have something to ask for your help. What is it? I'm not young anymore. I've reached the age of marriage. Men should get married when they are of age. This is human nature. It's not strange. Our sect doesn't forbid marriage. There's no need to be like this. Thank you, Master. I have taken a fancy to a junior sister. I would like to ask for your help. Well, this is a good thing. Tell me, who do you like? Master will naturally uphold justice for you. Yes, thank you, Master. He excitedly raised his head. Master, I have taken a fancy to junior sister Jianghu who has just arrived at the sect. Please help me. Before he could finish speaking, get out. Get out. She was furious and couldn't restrain her anger. Is Jianghu someone you can covet? Who do you think you are? Get out quickly. If you dare to have these crooked thoughts again, I will break your legs. Get out. Get out. Similar scenes were playing out in almost every qualified elder's place. Some of them had many direct disciples, and they received several requests in a day. In desperation, they simply gathered all the disciples and scolded all the disciples. Then, the group of old guys went into seclusion. At this point, even if Jianghu agreed, these old guys wouldn't agree. Jianghu was now the #1 treasure of the dreamlike world pavilion. Before she grew up, no one dared to mention marriage. It was as serious as digging up the ancestral grave of the dreamlike world pavilion. These movements weren't small, but they were insignificant in the context of the entire continent. To be more precise, they were completely silent. It was just a small wave that didn't attract attention. However, no one would have thought that an organization by the name of Heavenly Armament Pavilion would quietly rise up in this situation where the various tyrants had already divided their territories. No one would have thought that such a small organization would turn the entire Heavenly Imperial Court upside down in the next few years. Chapter 1815. Dreamlike Veranda. Baidu search P. C. OM. Jianghu practiced quietly, but there was a smile on her lips. Yes, Master, Chu Yang's cultivation speed is faster than mine. Yes, Master, I only have a pure Yin body here, so I have everything I need. These treasures were all given to me by a mysterious expert, but the few pieces of pure Yang were consumed by Chu Yang. Jianghu believed that these words of hers would have a strong impact on her master, Dreamlike Veranda. Dreamlike Veranda did not forbid marriage. However, with her aptitude, she had become a treasure. The sect would definitely not allow a disciple with such aptitude to marry out easily. But everything could only be maximized when Yin and Yang were in harmony. Although Jianghu took out a lot of treasures, there was only a little bit of mysterious Yang jade essence of pure Yang. It was far from being able to achieve the harmony of Yin and Yang in the body and the harmony between heaven and earth. Although her aptitude was fast enough, far faster than half of the people, if she could get more pure Yang treasures, her speed would increase even more. And the treasures that were a perfect match were with Chu Yang. And Jianghu emphasized that Chu Yang had already consumed them. In this way, as long as she encountered a bottleneck or any obstacles in her progress, she would need Chu Yang's help. Therefore, Dreamlike Veranda would not hurt Chu Yang no matter what, and would only look for him. She could feel that after she said these words, her master's expression was ugly and conflicted. Jianghu, of course, did not care about this. She had achieved her goal, so she went to practice. Ever since Jianghu came to the Heavenly Imperial Court. After wandering for less than a month, she had a conflict with a local gang. After killing many people in the gang, Jianghu fled. On the way, she met her master. The beautiful woman in white saw a group of big men chasing a little girl. She instinctively helped. After killing the group, she found that this little girl was really cute. After some contact, she was even more shocked to find that this little girl actually had a rare innate spirit body. She could not move her feet at once. She wanted Jianghu to acknowledge her as her master. But Jianghu already had a master. How could he agree? The two sides had been entangled for a long time. The beautiful woman in white had made concessions time and time again. In the end, she had even made a decision to give Ning Tianya and Bu Luqing the position of guest elders of the dreamlike mortal world's pavilion. They would be of the same generation as them. Moreover, she had also made a concession to become Emo Qingwu's third master. Emo Qingwu reluctantly nodded. At this point, Emo Qingwu had no choice but to nod. The cultivation of this beautiful woman in white is terrifyingly high. Even if she wanted to escape, she couldn't. It was only after arriving at the dreamlike secular pavilion that Emo Qingwu realized that she had arrived. It was actually the #1 sect in the Eastern Royal Heaven, Jiangnan, in an elegant courtyard. Auntie, I'm a little discouraged now. I really feel a little inferior. A handsome young man stood beside a beautiful woman. His face was filled with a bitter smile of defeat. The beautiful woman also smiled bitterly. In the courtyard, an aura of a breakthrough was rising. It was spreading out. Zi Xiecheng is really an anomaly in the entire demon clan. Her original strength was already extremely high, but because of her injuries, she didn't fully recover. And because of her body refinement, her cultivation fell greatly, but she didn't lose her realm. So it's not surprising that her cultivation speed is a little faster. This sentence. Even she didn't believe it herself. She was purely comforting her nephew. It could be considered a white lie. This handsome young man was naturally the demon clan's Tai. Ever since Zi Xiecheng came here, this guy who admired Zi Xiecheng shamelessly stayed here. Even if he couldn't get close to her, it was good to see her often. Didn't they say that love grows with time? I'll keep staying here. I don't believe that I can't melt the iceberg. But as time passed, he became less and less confident. So there was a saying in this world that there was an eternally frozen iceberg. Auntie, you don't have to comfort me. The demon clan's Tai looked miserable. When she first came here, she was only at the earth level. In less than a month, she broke through to the heaven level. In less than half a month, she broke through to the heaven level. In 3 months, she broke through to the saint level. Half a year later, she reached the peak of the saint level. Now, she's already breaking through to the heavenly level. The demon clan's Tai felt like he was going crazy. Even if she's just recovering her original cultivation, this speed is unprecedented in the heavenly imperial court. Is this something that can be compared with human strength? And I remember clearly that when she injured me 10,000 years ago, she was definitely only at the saint level. The demon clan's Tai looked pale. Now, she's already broken through to the heavenly level. How is this possible? How is this possible? The beautiful woman in white could only sigh. Sigh, I don't know what to say either. Let's see if your devotion can move her. But based on the current situation, it's not very likely. Of course, this is only my personal opinion. It was indeed her personal opinion. In other people's eyes, it was not only not very likely, it was simply impossible. The demon clan's Tai, who knew his situation, lowered his head sadly. In his extreme dejection, even a tail under his robe drooped down, dragging it back and forth on the ground. It's so difficult. Auntie, why is it so difficult to pursue a woman? The beautiful woman in white rolled her eyes at him and said, if it's not difficult, then you won't cherish her after you get her, right? You're right. The demon clan's Tai's fighting spirit rose again. I'll definitely move her. Sincerity can move metal and stone, definitely. Okay, then I hope you can move her soon. The beautiful woman in white smiled and said, but you should also cultivate to catch up with her. Are you going to be beaten by your wife every day when you get married in the future? Thinking of this terrible fact, the demon clan's Tai's face turned ugly. He gritted his teeth and said, okay. From now on, I'll cultivate as hard as I can. That's a good boy. It was chaos outside. But at this moment, Chu Yang was leisurely in the Chu clan's courtyard. Since the storm had already started, Chu Yang didn't need to worry anymore. Now, the storm was still rushing over from far away. Naturally, Chu Yang was even more relieved. In fact, this instigator even improvised a poem on the spot. Unintentional celestial man's wrath, A fart blasts directly. Heroes from all walks of life come. The wind is like a dragon. The cloud is like a tiger. Everything has nothing to do with me. I only want to embrace the beauty. Let the wind and waves hit me. I'll walk leisurely. It was said that this poem was accidentally heard by the wives of a few brothers. All of them laughed until their stomachs hurt. Chu Yang and Tai Budian strolled in the courtyard and came to the courtyard. Now, in the courtyard, there was a group of little guys chasing and playing. In the distance, there were people of similar ages running and practicing martial arts. There wasn't any pattern to it, just pure physical exercise. Xie Danqiong's wife, Madame Mei, was carefully looking after them with some people. She was afraid that someone would get hurt. It had to be said that Madame Mei was full of gentle motherly nature. To children, she was the most intimate. This was also the so-called affinity. In addition, Madame Mei was extremely patient. She also liked every one of these little guys very much. Therefore, everyone was also willing to be close to her. It was unknown who shouted, "Big Brother Chu, the patriarch is here." Immediately, a group of little guys swarmed over. Their eyes were full of passion. Their faces were full of admiration. "Big Brother Chu Yang, Clan Master, you're here, you're finally here, I missed you so much. When are you going to teach us martial arts? I want to become a heavenly soldier." Me too, me too. Hee hee, just thinking about it makes me feel impressive. Heavenly soldier, huh? Tisk, only you, I'm still the strongest. The little guys were in a mess. Chu Yang smiled from the bottom of his heart. After playing with this group of little guys for a long time, he didn't show the slightest bit of impatience. Tai Budian was especially touched, who said that emperors were heartless. Although she had only been separated from her son for more than a month, Tai Budian had been in her heart for a very, very long time. The moment she saw so many little guys who were about the same age as her, at most 3 or 4 years older, her eyes couldn't help but turn red. She squatted down and comforted them gently, hugging them one by one. Her actions were gentle, as if she was hugging her son. A mother would be worried about a son traveling 1,000 miles, and a mother would be worried about a son traveling 1,000 miles. Although Tai Budian was a qualified ruler, she was also a loving mother at the same time. Seeing this, Chu Yang couldn't help but sigh inwardly. That little bastard, not only did he usurp the throne, he even chased his parents away early on. Little heartless, I'll spank you when we're old. When Minister Chu was thinking this, he had completely forgotten that he was also involved in all these. Furthermore, he was the mastermind and accomplice. To a large extent, he was the one who instigated the little Chu Yang. Chu Yang took a step forward and gently held Tai Budian's arm. He said softly, "Don't worry, there's a monster over there, one who's even more of a monster than me. If he wants to come up, I'm afraid he can come up at any time. It's just that he hasn't completed what he wants to do yet. Once he's done, he can come over at any time." Really? Tai Budian's eyes were a little teary. At this moment, she was even a little weak. The ruler at this moment was actually a mother who missed her son who was far away. No matter how much power she wielded, no matter how much of a ruler she was, at this moment, she was just a mother who missed her son. "Really?" Chu Yang said very firmly, even with a tone of certainty. Tai Budian looked at these children enviously. She said, "How good would it be if they were always by our side?" Chu Yang sighed softly. "You also know that our children, if they were really always by our side, it would instead be difficult for them to grow up. Only an environment without restrictions and restrictions can allow them to grow up best." Tai Budian sighed softly, but she also agreed with Chu Yang's words. Tai Budian was a qualified ruler, but she was definitely not a strict teacher. She was simply too kind and amiable toward her own children. Since ancient times, loving mothers tended to spoil their children. Although every mother couldn't wait to hold their children in their arms for the rest of their lives, for the sake of their children's future, they still had to be ruthless and let go, allowing their children to fly alone, to gain experience and have their own lives. The gentleness in Tai Budian's eyes at this moment quickly conquered the children. Chapter 1816. Children's hearts were the most sensitive. They could sense who was good to them. This was something that couldn't be faked. All of them gathered around her, their faces full of concern and admiration. P from Tai Budian, they could truly feel the aura of a mother. Children. With tears in her eyes, Tai Budian smiled and said, "All of you must be well." There was complete silence. Some of the orphans who didn't have parents since they were young even had red eyes. "Don't call her auntie. This is your sister-in-law, my wife." Chu Yang smiled and introduced her loudly. "If you have any problems in the future, just look for her. Remember." "Okay." All the children shouted loudly. "Sister-in-law is so beautiful." A 10-year-old girl looked at Tai Budian in a daze and murmured, "The mother in my dreams is just like this." Tai Budian was playing with the children. Chu Yang quietly called Madame Mei to one side. "Sister-in-law, have you calculated the things that I asked you to?" "Yes, the statistics are out. We have 5,475 children, but less than 1,000 of them have names. The rest of the younger ones may have names, but most of them have already been forgotten. In this way, there is no way to continue investigating." Madame Mei looked at these children and sighed with some heartache. This detestable world has caused so many people to die. No matter whether they deserved it or died innocently, what did these children do to deserve it? They have to bear the suffering of the world at such a young age. The heavens are heartless. Chu Yang was silent for a long time. Then he said, "There is really no other way. Life is the world of martial arts. The world of martial arts has been full of killing, fighting, and competition since ancient times. Death is something that is destined to be unavoidable." Madame Mei sighed deeply and said, "Fortunately, there are people like you. Only these children can change their fate." Chu Yang was silent for a while. Then he said, "I can only manage a very, very small portion. Most of the time, I can't do anything. I'm not that great really." Madame Mei sighed deeply. "For those who don't have names, let's name them according to the surname Chu." Chu Yang said softly, "Let's use wind, rain, thunder, lightning, fog, snow, frost, sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, lakes and seas, spring, summer, autumn and winter. Plum blossom, orchid, bamboo, chrysanthemum." There are too many people. Even if we use all the commonly used words, I'm afraid it won't be enough. Madame Mei frowned. Chu Yang said, "This is easy to handle. We can name Chu Xingyun, Chu Qingyun, Chu Baiyun, Chu Ziyun, Chu Moyun and so on. When he ran out of words, he would switch to another one. Also, separate the boys from the girls. Girls should be more gentle." "That's good." Madame Mei's eyes lit up as she said, "If that's the case, the naming of 100 people wouldn't be messed up, yes." Chu Yang nodded. "Take note of one thing. During this period of time, you will be choosing names at home. Everyone needs to be familiar with their new names. Remember your status in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. No one is allowed to leave. You are not allowed to go to the front yard or the backyard." "All right." The most important point. He had to keep up with their diet. The children's bodies had almost recovered and could tolerate a certain amount of meat. There was no harm in getting more. And that soup. Everyone must drink it. "All right. Be careful, no one is allowed to go out. This matter is very important. Especially important." Chu Yang emphasized this issue once again. Although Madame Mei didn't understand, she still carried it out strictly. Chu Yang raised his head and sighed softly. There wasn't much time left. His heart couldn't help but surge with endless reluctance. "I've already laid out the foundation for all of you. It's up to you now." Chu Yang murmured softly to himself, "I hope that all of you will work hard and create your own future. For yourselves and for the Heavenly Armament Pavilion." That night, Tai Budian snuggled in Chu Yang's arms, frowning slightly as if there was something she didn't understand. "What's wrong?" "It's a little strange." Tai Budian said, "Our children are much younger than some of them, but I keep having the feeling that our children are smarter than them, and much smarter." Chu Yang sweated a little. Was there a need to say it? Even though these children had already been transformed by Chu Yang, and their aptitudes were all heaven-sent geniuses, but compared to little Tai Yang, that kind of monstrous genius, they were still lacking by quite a bit. Just comparing their willpower alone, the difference was like heaven and earth. If they really had to compare, even Emo Qingwu's innate spirit body couldn't be compared to little Tai Yang, much less these children's natural talents that were modified through heavenly treasures. It's very late. Go to sleep. Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and gave Tai Butian a meaningful smile. Your Majesty, I'll serve you. His hands had already split into two and went into the mountains and valleys respectively. Tai Butian's face and ears turned red at once. Under the assault of that pair of demonic hands, she panted heavily and said with a flushed face, Do whatever you want. But you mustn't do those weird positions again. It's really so embarrassing. Chu Yang's heart instantly burned. He said, What kind of positions exactly? If your Majesty doesn't tell me clearly, how would I know? She couldn't help but be aroused by this sentence. Just as she was about to get on the horse and her sword was about to reach, suddenly, strange noises came from outside. At this critical moment, a night walker had come. A faint murderous aura seeped in through the window. An assassin had actually come. Chu Yang was in high spirits when he suddenly encountered such a thing. How could he not fly into a rage? His head was filled with anger, and it directly burned to the heavens. Previously, Chu Yang had fantasized that if someone came to assassinate him, he would capture the assassin. Then he would use both the carrot and the stick, as well as poison. Perhaps he could even subdue a few experts. In front of others, his strength was at the Earth grade level, and he also had the battle record of killing 2 Earth grade experts of the same level. Then, the person who came to assassinate him was at least stronger than himself and the 2 Earth grade experts of the Li family. Perhaps it was a high-level Earth grade, or perhaps it was the peak of Earth grade. It was also possible for them to be infinitely close to Heaven stage, and such people were not a threat to him at all. If he could subdue another wave, then 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 another wave. Of course, this was just his imagination. How could such a situation happen in reality? And now, his imagination had finally come true. Finally, someone had come to assassinate him. However, Chu Yang had completely forgotten his original plan. The only thought in Chu Yang's mind now was to kill. Originally, no matter when the assassin came, Minister Chu wouldn't be so angry. But now, at this moment, just as he was about to start serving the Empress, at this critical moment, came. Minister Chu roared angrily. With his back bare, he only had time to put on a pair of large underpants and rushed out. The long spear was straight. It could be vaguely seen. Tai Butian's face flushed red at the sight of this. She only had time to say, Put on your clothes, but Chu Yang had already disappeared. He didn't care if the autumn light had already appeared. A magnificent sword light. Out through the window. Outside, 3 uninvited guests were standing in the courtyard, looking around with their arms crossed. One of them was indifferent. He said very gracefully, Divine Dr. Chu, we 3 brothers have come to visit you in the middle of the night. Please come out to meet us. Before he finished his words, a ghastly sword light appeared. Divine Dr. Chu, with his back bare, had already appeared in front of them. His pair of hairy legs were bare. His face was full of murderous intent. Divine Dr. Chu, please forgive us. We're just following orders. We need to borrow your head. This person was a heaven-level expert, so he naturally did not take someone who had just broken through to Earth level seriously. He put his hands behind his back and spoke in a very pretentious manner, as if everything was under his control. However, before he could finish his sentence, the dense sword light had already arrived in front of him with the speed of lightning. The heaven-level expert didn't expect Divine Dr. Chu to be so straightforward. He didn't even ask any questions and directly attacked. We're heaven-level experts. We're much better than you, a mere Earth-level beginner. After being ordered to take our lives, we should at most run for our lives, not to mention kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. How can you take the initiative to attack first? For a moment, the three of them were even a little confused. Are we here to assassinate Divine Dr. Chu? Or is Divine Dr. Chu here to ambush the three of us? We still want to talk first. Why did the one who's about to be assassinated attack us without saying anything? Does he feel that he's not dying fast enough and even gave up the chance to live a little longer? He flashed and floated to one side. Wait. As the sword light landed, Chu Yang frowned and said, "Is there anything else?" His tone was full of impatience. This was definitely nonsense. Anyone who was interrupted for no reason would definitely be annoyed. The three of them were speechless. Even if there's nothing else, you don't have to be so straightforward, right? Aren't you curious? What are we three experts here for? Who sent us here? Besides, you're just an Earth-level expert. Are you a match for us three experts? Divine Dr. Chu is indeed extraordinary. The heaven-level expert laughed and said, "But I'm very curious. Are you not curious about our arrival at all? Or is our arrival within your expectations? Only ghosts would know that you're coming. Well, what are you here for?" Chu Yang asked smoothly. "To kill you," this person said in a threatening and oppressive manner. "Or, if you want to kill me, why aren't you doing it? Are you planning to kill me with your mouth?" Chu Yang scolded. "I thought that you're here for a chat. I'm not interested in chatting with you in the middle of the night. Do you know that you three bastards have spoiled my plans?" The three of them were petrified. Is it really true that the ignorant are fearless? Or is this Divine Dr. Chu simply a fool who doesn't know anything? He's already at death's door, but he still dares to be so arrogant. "I've caught a cold. Fever, 38. 5 degrees. My nose hasn't breathed for a day and a night. My head hurts from breathing through my mouth. I've been drinking water for a day, but my throat still hurts terribly." Chapter 1817. Impudent. The other Earth-grade expert finally couldn't help but scold him. "It's one thing for us to kill you, but you're just an Earth-grade beginner. You can't be so arrogant. Even if you're in a hurry to reincarnate, you can't be so impatient. Impudent your grandma." Chu Yang scolded and didn't waste any more words. His calamity sword flashed in the air and he shouted, 10,000 feet of cold light. This move had once killed more than 10 experts of the Li family in one strike. Its power was immense and unstoppable. Two of the three were present at that time and naturally knew the pros and cons of this move. They said at the same time, "Be careful." The three leaped up at the same time and attacked. Since this guy was so untactful, it was better to kill him as soon as possible. Do you think that just because you can kill some ants, you'll be successful in every endeavor? We're all great experts who are far above you. However, Chu Yang wasn't an unwise person. How could he make the mistake of using the same move again? Although he said 10,000 feet of cold light, in reality, he used the 4 moves of the Calamity Sword's sword point at the same time. A sharp sonic boom rang out, and everyone's eardrums were filled with the sound of sword chi whistling through the air, as though they were about to explode. The three were instantly drowned by the sword aura. Break! The heaven-grade expert was full of confidence. He felt that with his heaven-grade ability, how could it not be easy to deal with a small earth-grade beginner? Holding the long sword in his hand, he directly chopped down. He wanted to bully the weak with his strength and forcefully break the move. In the blink of an eye, a tyrannical cyan sword chi rushed straight towards the sword chi that Chu Yang had emitted. He was very confident that this sword move would disperse the sword energy that had filled the sky in an instant. Moreover, it would cut Chu Yang into 2 halves. So he let the other 2 take action. To deal with such a junior, Chu Yang could easily take him down. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. How could there be any accidents? However, the final result of that sword strike shocked him greatly. Chu Yang's sword aura was split apart as he expected. But, at the same time, the long sword in his hand cracked into 4 or 5 pieces. This was a godly weapon that had accompanied the ZJ for many years. If he hadn't retracted his hand fast enough, even the arm holding the sword would have been turned into minced meat. The strength of a heaven stage expert was high, But that didn't mean he was invulnerable to 10,000 weapons. If he were to encounter a true godly weapon, he would still be injured and die. Then, the sword chi that had just been dispersed. Instead of dispersing, they gathered together again and descended with great power. A moment of carelessness and underestimation of the enemy had actually caused him to fall into a dangerous situation. However, a heaven stage expert was a heaven stage expert after all. After coming to his senses, he quickly adapted. He immediately circulated his entire body's cultivation, and a layer of faint blue light flickered. Like the rising tide of the sea, it surged out crazily, counterattacking with all its might. Although Chu Yang's sword light had enveloped everything around it and seemed to be unstoppable, when it came into contact with this blue light, it was as if the sword had slashed into the ocean. Furthermore, the seawater was unusually viscous. Every time he chopped down, he would chop down. Both consumed a certain amount of strength and speed. And in this shan, the other party had already calmly dodged. In an instant, more than 300 slashes. With a hua sound, the Tian grade expert leapt backwards. At the same time, the Tian grade expert leapt backwards. Chu Yang retreated with his sword. Chu Yang had consecutively chopped out 350 slashes. Only the last 30 slashes were barely effective, tearing the other party's clothes into pieces. However, in reality, there wasn't a single wound on the other party's body. This was also when the heaven stage expert's protective Xian technique gradually couldn't keep up with the rate of consumption. In shock, he managed to escape. And this moment happened to be the last moment when Chu Yang had used up all 4 sword moves. Under the opponent's viscous protective Xian technique, most of the true essence that he had used previously had been consumed. If he could barely hold on, he would fall into a state of decline. At the same time, he also retreated. If I don't retreat, my cultivation won't be able to keep up with the consumption, and I will die under this sword. That heaven stage expert panted, his eyes filled with shock. If I don't retreat, my cultivation won't be able to keep up with the consumption, and I will definitely die under his hands. Chu Yang panted slightly, absorbing energy from the tribulation space with all his might to recover. His heart was filled with inexplicable shock. A heaven stage expert indeed lived up to his name. This was the first time that Chu Yang had truly fought with a heaven stage expert. Although the other party had always been at a disadvantage and even had no room to fight back, Chu Yang knew that this was caused by the other party's carelessness and underestimation of him. The moment he came up, his sword was broken, and he was completely forced into a passive state. If the other party really went all out with Zheng would probably be the one to lose. Chu Yang took in a deep breath. When I was in the heaven stage continent, I could kill a 2nd grade supreme martial artist and fight a 3rd grade supreme martial artist with a 1st grade supreme martial artist cultivation. But here, I'm actually not a match for a heaven stage expert with a cultivation close to the earth stage. This difference was almost several times that of the heaven stage continent. If it was purely based on cultivation, the difference was probably more than 4 times. This difference was almost several times the difference between the heaven stage imperial court and the heaven stage continent. It wasn't just the difference between earth stage and heaven stage. This person was only a heaven stage expert. If heaven stage was compared to heaven stage experts, what was the difference? Compared to saint stage experts? Chu Yang's heart became more and more cautious. Heaven stage imperial court was indeed not an ordinary place. Little, you're indeed not bad. You do have some capital to be arrogant. That heaven stage expert finally caught his breath. His eyes shone with blue light. The other party's swordsmanship was indeed strange and sharp to the extreme. If it wasn't for Zheng's high cultivation, sufficient protective energy, and the explosive potential of his life force, he would have been turned into minced meat just now if he didn't handle it properly. A novice who had just broken through to the earth stage could already force Zheng into such a state. To this heaven stage expert, this was simply a great humiliation. Chu Yang took in a deep breath and made a decision at this moment. Youngwa's divine sense, Chu Yang, Yen Russian, and Shifty Cat had all arrived at this moment. They were watching the battle in the dark. But Chu Yang didn't want them to make a move. This is Jinji's battle. Although the opponent is a heaven stage master, which is beyond Jinji's ability to deal with on the surface, I must kill him today. Relying on others was considered a shitty ability? Why couldn't an earth stage expert be a heaven stage expert? Others couldn't. It didn't mean that I, Chu Yang, couldn't. The Calamity Sword Master had always been a legendary existence. Today would be the beginning of the legend of the Calamity Sword Master. Chu Yang raised his head and said coldly, "Since you've already said that you're here to kill me, stop spouting nonsense. All of you can come at me together." He stood with his sword in hand, his eyes filled with disdain. "All of you can come at me together." These 4 words, facing 3 experts who were much stronger than Zheng. He actually said it with such confidence and power. While the 3 of them were stunned, Chu Yang's sword flashed. He actually took the lead to attack again. As the sword flashed, the radiance of the flowers became more and more obvious. It actually engulfed all 3 of them at once. This was extreme contempt from beginning to end. This made the heaven stage expert so angry that his chest almost exploded. He spread his hands outwards and shouted, "No one is allowed to make a move. I want to kill him alone." Facing an earth stage beginner, Zheng, who was a heaven stage expert, had to join forces with others to attack him. If word got out, Zheng wouldn't be able to stay in the martial world anymore. He really couldn't afford to lose face like that. But at this moment, Chu Yang's sword momentum suddenly changed. The move just now. It was the sword spikes move. Light like a dream, floating in the air. Enchanting like a sea of blood and a mountain of bones. It highlighted a light, dancing, enchanting move. The power of the sword was full of nimbleness and grace, but it was intricate and flawless. But at this moment, there was a sudden change. The temperament changed sharply, turning into 2 tyrannical sword moves full of murderous intent. Like 2 bolts of lightning, it lit up the night sky. It made everyone who saw it blind at this moment. Just now, it was the sword spike's famous move. Now, it was the sword edge's move. Howling wind and clouds from the west to the east, and sun and moon as my thunder general, the 2 moves were released at the same time. It was obviously one person attacking, but the 2 sword lights went forward side by side. There was no distinction between the master and the follower, arriving at the same time. The fleeting snow cloud movement technique under his feet circled around like a ghost, bypassing the heaven-grade expert who was on full alert. This guy spoke beautifully, but in reality he did not dare to be careless at all. He closed in step by step, but Chu Yang, who was unprepared, easily broke through and bypassed him. The real target of these 2 moves was the other 2 people. The other 2 earth-grade experts. A heaven-grade expert's true strength was far above Chu Yang's, and could not be easily dealt with in 1 or 2 moves. However, the other 2 were only earth-grade experts. Although they were still above Chu Yang, they were still within Chu Yang's range of killing. Since they were here, none of them should leave. Easy at first, difficult at last. After dealing with the variables that could affect this battle, it would be safer to focus on dealing with the heaven-grade experts. Brilliant! What a brilliant battle tactic! Yen Russian could not help but sigh. The change in this move was definitely out of everyone's expectations. It contained the will to anticipate the enemy's moves and the ingenious sword shield. A sentence of mockery, intentionally or unintentionally, pierced through the hearts of the people. It caused the 3 of them to take the initiative to separate and face him alone. As for the other 2, they were not affected at all. Their vigilance revealed a flaw. But although the heaven-grade expert said that he would face them alone, the previous 4 moves made him tremble in fear. Then he saw a shocking move that he had never seen before. Naturally, he chose to defend wholeheartedly. Since he was wholeheartedly defending, he naturally lacked the ability to counterattack. And Chu Yang took advantage of this subtle change in mentality to kill the other 2. Good strategy. Fishy's eyes widened. I'm afraid he will have to fight with his life on the line this time. Yen Russian said, "That's right. Other than fighting with his life on the line, there's no other way for him to kill the other 2. Moreover, he only had this one chance. If he doesn't succeed this time, we will have to make our move. At this point, Chu Yang's sword stance had indeed changed. It became eerie and terrifying, like a ghost or a demon. It was completely fighting with his life on the line. He would rather live in seclusion for the rest of his life in exchange for a killing frenzy. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.